Who does Hector represent?
Hector. Hector? Boy, you look like you're heading on the clouds, man.
Oh, Atlin. Sorry, I just have a lot on my mind.
Haven't seen you for a good while. How's your new business?
My business? I wouldn't know.
How you mean? You sell it?
No, it's up and running. Bought the building, the equipment, supplies, got the license and permit. I even appointed a board and hired a CEO, CMO, CFO, every O. But...
Good. Things are going for you, man. So why you look so?
Well, nobody tells me anything.
Wait, I'm not following. Aren't you the owner and chairman of the board?
I get no sales, no marketing, no financial report, nothing. Board meetings are called, decisions are taken. Nobody invites me.
You cannot be serious.
Atlin, I'm here to transfer $1.5 million to the company, and I'm short. I have to send it every 3 months. If not, the board can sue me.
These are your employees. So if you have no idea what's happening and you're just pouring money in, then just fire them and get a new board.
If I could, but I can't. The contract I signed says unless I can prove, say them do crime, missed work 6 days in a row, or they're mad like rat, then I am stuck with them until the contract expires.
So how long is that?
5 years.
5 years? So who prepared that contract?
Atlin them same one write it.
Hector, my dear friend, I think I know how you could get out of that contract.
For real? How?
Go to court. Tell them exactly what you told me and plead insanity. With that story, the judge will surely believe you and release you.
Now, Hector wants what is best for his company, his family, and their future. But he leave himself careless and can't hold his employees to account. But if we're not careful, it's the same thing we doing. So we have to start behave like the owners, employers, and financiers we really are. Visit jampja.org and use our free online tools to track how your taxes are spent and to ensure greater accountability from public officials. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the UK International Development and the Embassy of the United States.
One, two, three. All right, I should be. Everyone hearing me now? Are you hearing me? All right, beautiful. All right, so this is the meeting after the meeting. So just want to big up everyone. Let me just first of all apologize for Rattigan. He's going to be on, but he's just running a little late. So let me welcome Laura Williams, who is here with us. James Master Songwriter. Miss B. Good to have you, Miss B. And now I'm able to match a name, a face to all these names. ACLB, good evening. Elaine Turner, don't believe him. Elaine Carla, evening. We have here with us again. We have RJ, we have Beverly, Doglish, we have Patel Cruikshank. Good evening. Marilyn Mollison, good evening to you, from out of Mandeville. We have Jeffrey Warrell. Good evening, Jeffrey. It's good to have you. We have Cecile. Cecile is here with us. Nice to have you, Cecile. We have Karen Anderson. We have Hugh Robotham. Good to have you, Joe. We have, as usual, we have Joe Blogs. Evening, Joe Blogs. We have Lance White, who is with us. We have Dorrit Elliott. Dorrit McCoy. Welcome, 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 welcome. I believe we have Miss Rita Fruit Depan. Good evening. Lance White. And I think that concludes everyone. So let me all just greet you all this evening. This week was, all right, Stella Gray, start ask questions. Stella Gray, right out of the block. All right, Stella Gray, I want to talk to you about that. But I want to just big up OT and Joan, as well as the rest of the team, who did a phenomenal job in putting together our link up that we had recently in Kingston. Believe me, it was well planned, it was well executed, and we had a very good turnout. We had a wide cross section of age group, which is very good. Evening Mitzi, Mike Myers, evening. So it was really a wonderful link up. The performance that we had, the children had wonderful time. We are grateful for all the goodies, the tablets and the handbags. Big up to Prezi, and I guess, I mean, I don't want to get into trouble by calling them, but all the team who helped to Royal Bless, good evening. All the team that helped to make the event a success. I want to just big you up. And I know it was hard work. I hope Joan and I hope OT get some rest. And I hope they found some time to rest and relax as well. But we had a wonderful time. And I believe that the template is now here. The template has now been established. And so I believe going forward that we would have had a template to work from. Whenever you're doing something for the first time, there are always teething pains, there are always hiccups, there are always learning curves. And I believe that in spite of all of that, I believe it was a well executed, well carried out program. And I believe it was a monumental success. And we want to just big up Ratty, as well as all the other members of the One Jamaica, the Defense Foundation, One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation, who helped to make this event a success. And I was enormously impressed by what I saw. And I know that there weren't a lot of persons. I know what it is in the last minute. An event like this always comes down to a few persons, and I know it took blood and sweat. Those persons who gave of themselves, who were spent, were not only spent, but I like to say they spent and they were spent for an event like this. And just want to say kudos to you and lift my hats off to you. It was a great event. All right, so tonight we just want to I know we're going to reflect and reminisce on the event and at Waterhouse. Larry says December 6, 2025, part 2 will be at Waterhouse. We'll see how that goes. But I know that we would want to give persons an opportunity to give their feedback as it relates to the event and their experience. It was not only an event where we enjoyed ourselves, but it was also an event of camaraderie where persons would have met persons. All right, so this evening, last week we started talking about some health issues. So I'm just gonna flow until Rattigan comes on and adds his bit to it. But before we go, let me just there was a question that was asked by Stella Gray Passmore. What can I use for neuropathy? Which is a condition in which there is a reduction in the flow of blood in the lower extremities. What I always say is that you always want to know. So whatever I say is generally, not maybe referring directly to your condition, because I don't know. I would need more to be more specific as it relates to you. But in general, and I guess you would know this, one of the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the legs are elevated, because most of the times one of the main condition is damaged blood vessels. So once the blood vessels are damaged, what happens is that when fluid flows into these lower extremities, then it's not coming up back. And so sometimes that fluid is not necessarily blood, it is lymphatic fluid. And our lymphatic system has what is called, let me call it valves. So unlike the heart, that is responsible, because there's two fluids in the body. There is lymph fluid and there is blood. Now we know that for the blood, the heart is what helps to monitor the flow of blood around the heart. But for the lymphatic system, it doesn't have a pump. What it has instead is valves that are specifically located throughout the body that basically help to add pressure in allowing that fluid to flow around the body. And so sometimes when those valves are damaged, then what happens is that when the fluid goes down, it's not able to come back up. And so what you want to do is you want to help with that. So one thing that can be done, and one of the first thing you want to do is to ensure that as much as possible, the feet are elevated, because by elevating the feet, what happens is that the fluid will, because of gravity, will flow down. So that's one thing that you can do. Second thing that you can do is to wear some form of compression footwear, because what the compression stocking will do, or the compression mechanism, what it will do is that it will put pressure on the valves and squeeze them, preventing them from filling up. So by keeping them sufficiently suppressed, what happens is that they will not get a chance to be saturated with fluid to the point where it begins to affect you. Another thing that can help is massaging. All right. So massaging, and this you have to be careful. As I said, that you want to be careful because this may not be ideal for certain persons with underlying conditions. This may not be ideal for persons who have ulcers. So in addition to their neuropathy, they may have ulcers. Massage may not be recommended. So you can massage the area, and by massaging it and massaging it in a certain way, you are helping to move the fluid back up. Also, another condition that can cause a problem is the lymph nodes. The lymph nodes are blocked. And so one of the things that you can do is you can detoxify or flush the lymph nodes. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but I can tell you what you can use. So there is a thing called glauber salt, and there is a thing called carrot juice. So carrot juice is vitamin C, and so what you can do is you can use the glauber salt and you can use the carrot juice. There's a procedure that we call a lymphatic flush. So there's a lymphatic flush that you can do, and what I'm gonna say, Stella, is that you can call me and I can walk you through how to actually do a lymphatic flush. All right, and lymphatic flush is something I recommend for persons who have neuropathy or who may have lymphedema or who may have cancer. All right, so you can call me on those numbers. You can call my office on those numbers, and once you get me, then I can guide you as it relates to the lymphatic flush. That's one thing that you can do that helps. As it relates to that, there are certain foods that you would want to stay away from that will cause the fluid the viscosity fluid to increase. So there are those options that are available. But of course, how and what you apply is going to be based on definitively what is your underlying condition. So so for those persons, you can call me and we can set up a time and I can walk you through how you can do that. The lymphatic flush is something that works extremely well. And for persons, you don't have to wait until you have neuropathy. If you're in your 50s, 60s, if you're having numbness in your leg, poor circulation, then you can also benefit from the lymphatic flush as well. All right? Any more questions before we go further? Anybody else? While we're taking it. So that's Stella Gray Passmore. Very good question, Stella. All right. All right. No more questions. All right. So that's very good. So last week I was talking about food labels, and I went through a list of foods that you want to look out for. And one of the things I said last week is that we would talk about food, because a lot of times we don't have a working definition, because the definition for food, you're welcome, Passmore. The definition for food and poison are the understanding that people have for food and poison is very close. The difference between food and poison sometimes is based on dosage. So poison can become food based on the dosage. So you can take poison in small dosages, doesn't hurt you, but in the long run it will. So it's slowly killing you, but for the time being it will give you a belly full. And it's important for us because a lot of times a lot of what we buy and take home is actually poison, because we consume it repeatedly, and we consume a lot of it. And so I tell persons that food, how do you determine the difference between food? What's the major difference between food and poison? What's the major difference or distinction between food and poison? What's the major distinction? Here's the major distinction. Here's how you know the main difference between food and poison. Because poison have nutrients in it. Remember? Poison is just 100 poison. Poisons have some amount of nutrients in it. And food has some amount of poison in it. So we can't define food, or we can't look on food based on its nutritional value. One of the major things we have to look for as it relates to food, and get this, one of the major things we have to look for as it relates to food is its enzymic quantity. The amount of Joe Bloggs say like apricot bitter seeds, 3 seeds a day is good, right? And there are many foods that contain a very toxic chemical called ricin. Very dangerous. As a matter of fact, even rice contains ricin. Right? But it is so low that it's not going to harm us. Right? And then there are certain foods that if you consume foods with a certain amount of level of ricin, you're good as dead. So the major distinction between food and poison, or the major way to distinguish food or define food and or to determine what you eat as food, is you want to factor a quality that most times you don't hear about by food producers. Why? Because there's nothing in them there's nothing in it for them to get. There's nothing for them to benefit from. So a lot of times they'll talk about the nutritional value. So they talk about a lot. The nutritional value, the nutritional value, the nutritional value. But don't be carried away by the nutritional value, because as I said, most of the poison out there has some amount of nutrients in it. What you want to focus on is what we call the enzymic value. All right, the enzymic value. Now, enzymes are chemicals that allow the body to carry out certain function. Right? Enzymes are chemicals that are necessary for the body to carry out certain functions. And usually we find enzymes. Enzymes is what is the quantity of life-giving property that a food have. So you won't find a lot of enzymes in food that you get on the supermarket. What you will find food enzyme in is the live foods. So the ripe banana, the apple, the mango, the kale, the cabbage, all of these have what is called enzymes. So in addition to the minerals that they have something that you can't get in the tin foods. So for those of you who like tin vegetables, the tin vegetables will have minerals in it, but what it won't have is enzymes. What we need to support life is enzymes. And so here's what happens now. And this is the distinction between food and poison. Anything that you put in your mouth that requires more of your body's energy to extract, because remember, when you eat for example a piece of bread, the minerals that is in that bread, the amount of energy that your body uses to extract that mineral, you're going to be left with a deficit. Right? You're going to be left with a deficit. So when you put something in the body that the body don't recognize naturally, like if you put mango in the body recognizes it naturally. The body don't spend a lot of its energy to decipher, to distinguish, to separate, and to identify what is in that mango. So the body uses very little energy to do that. Instead, what the body does is the body goes right ahead and start to digest it. However, when you put something in the body that the body is foreign, it's foreign to the body, for the body to get all the nutrients and the minerals that you need, the body will have to exert a lot of its energy in order to get that minerals. So here's what happened. You got some minerals and you got maybe some enzymes. But what happened was that you use far more energy from your body's energy to extract that minerals. And so what happens is that you're left with the minus. So I like to use figures. So for example, the bread that you're eating has lots of minerals, but it only has about 100 joules of energy that you're going to get from it. But you use 1,000 joules of your energy in order to get that energy from it. And so what happens is that you're negative 900. So you get minerals, yes, but you lost a lot of your enzymic or your energy to break down, to absorb, and to digest what you got from that bread. So that's not the ideal food. The ideal food are foods that you use less of your energy, but you get more energy from them in addition to the minerals that you get, in addition to the vitamins that you get. And so because of that, you are in a positive. And so what are the best foods for that? What are the foods that give you that? The foods are the fresh fruits and vegetables, which is why you are told when you cook your vegetable not to overcook it, because when you overcook it, the heat destroys that enzyme. Right? And you are also told to get fresh fruits and vegetables, because food that is stale loses a lot of that energy. And so again, you are left with a negative. So in determining, so we need to look at it now in the day. So let's look at it now. So when, for example, on a day, you didn't eat any fresh fruits or vegetables, it meant that you didn't get the enzymes that your body needs. And by the way, for the body to carry out certain functions, this is why this is important now. For the body to carry out certain functions, the body needs enzymes. Now, most of the time, the body manufactures these enzymes. The body makes them. But what happens is that as we get older, our body don't make them in the amount that they need to be made, and our body don't make some. So what happens is that the closest resemblance to the natural enzymes found in the body, the closest resemblance is those found in fresh fruits and vegetables. And so when a day passes that you don't eat any fresh fruits or vegetables, what happens is that you're going to find that your body ages more for that day, because the nutrients that you need in order to carry out that function, you didn't get it. Your body is not manufacturing the amount that you need. Your body is not manufacturing some of those that you need. And so, because you didn't get it externally from the fresh fruits and vegetables, then what happens is that for that day, you would have aged more. You would have lost more cells. Because remember, the body needs those enzymes in order to make new cells. right? The body needs those to make new cells. And so on the day that you didn't get enough, your body didn't make enough cells. In other words, more cells died than the amount of cells that were supposed to be made. And so this is the reason why fresh fruits and vegetables is so important. That is the reason why we push food as medicine. Because for the arthritis that you're having, for those damaged blood vessels, for those neuropathy that we talk about, I'm going to talk about that, Lance. For those neuropathy that you're having, all those neuropathy can be replaced. What happened, why you're having that neuropathy is that the cells that are supposed to, the amount of cells that are supposed to be made to repair the ones that are being damaged in your cardiovascular system, far less is being made than the ones that are dying. And so what happened is that the cardiovascular system falls into disrepair. And so as you start to eat certain foods, especially foods that will help to repair the cardiovascular system, over about a 3-week to a 3-month period, what you're going to see is that the body will begin to heal itself because you're giving the body the raw material that it needs to repair itself. And so Lance says, what about supplements and vitamins? Now, supplements and vitamins has been, for the most part, a money-making, not good, but for the most part, it's a money-making venture, because vitamins were not supposed to be obtained without the enzymes. So the pharmaceutical or the nutraceutical companies, they push vitamins, which is not the best source of vitamins. So supplements are promoted and pushed because that's what money can be made from. But it's a source of vitamins, but it's not the best source of vitamins. Why? It's not the best source of vitamins because it is vitamins without enzymes. Enzymes are alive. Because remember, because we're alive, in order to nourish life, you have to use life to nourish life. So our life is nourished by the life of the plant. So you know this whole concept about vampire, where a vampire, in order for a vampire to be replenished, the vampire needs the blood. Why does the vampire need blood? Because life is in the blood. In the same way, we are plant vampires. In order to nourish our life, we need the life-giving properties of plants, which is found in enzymes. And so, in addition to the vitamins and the minerals, or in addition to the vitamins, we're getting minerals, which is the enzymes found in plants. So the best place to get our vitamins, or the best way to get our vitamins, is to get our vitamins along with the enzymes, along with the minerals at the same time. Because the enzymes is what helps our body to assimilate the vitamins. And so, whereas vitamins are supplemental, they are used as supplements. So because many persons can't afford, should I say that? Yes? Yes, because there are persons who live in parts of the world where they don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So because they can't get the quantity of fresh fruits and vegetables they need to sustain a healthy life, that's how vitamins came about. So it came about as a supplement. It didn't came about to replace. It came about as a supplement. So because you're not eating enough mangoes, you're not eating enough vegetables, you're not eating enough fruits, then vitamins were now added to the diet to help supplement the diet so that we can get the minerals in the quantity and in the amounts that we need them. And so it is very important for us to understand this is the basic foundation of all medicine. This is what sometimes the medicinal fraternity will not want to tell you. This is the basic. And so because of what I do, and I normally run retreats, and people come, and the results are phenomenal. It's not because I've done anything phenomenal. I can't do. No doctor really can do anything phenomenal. The best the doctor can have is just the knowledge as it relates to the raw material that the body needs. That's the best a doctor can do. So a doctor who is very knowledgeable, when you complain to them, how their knowledge comes in, bears fruit, is when they're able, based on the symptoms that they are telling you, what is happening to them. It is when they can now tell you what are the best foods that will supply that part of the body that is dysfunctional with the raw material for that part of the body to heal itself. And I think, I know somebody that said, where does herbs come into the mix? Where does herbs come into the mix of foods? Because we tell persons all the time, let your food be your medicine and your medicine your food. And so let me tell you now where the herb comes into it, because a lot of times persons who are on prescription medication want to replace their prescription medication with herbs. And just a while ago, just today, I was talking to an employer that we have, and she was talking to her sister, and she said, Dr. Ben, I want to talk to you. I need to go on your machine. I need to do the assessment. And for those of you who don't know, we have a machine that we use. I had it at the function, but there was so much noise, we couldn't use it. So I brought it with me. It's portable. And she said, I want to come on the machine because I'm constipated. So I said to her, you're constipated? She said, yes. I said, because there are a number of things that would cause that, but because of her age and a number of other things, I said to her, you must be consuming too much iron. She said, no, she not eat no iron. She not consume no iron. She not take no medication. So I said, yeah, you must be consuming iron while you are complicated. And then I started to list out. I said, are you eating any spinach? She said, no. I said, are you eating any callaloo? She said, no, she's not eating no callaloo, no vegetable. I said, okay, are you eating any green banana? She said, oh yes, I drink green banana porridge every night. So I said, that's your problem. She loves green banana and she drinks green banana porridge every single night. Last week I talked about another client, friend that I had, called her up because I was doing some work. She worked on one of those well-known radio stations in Jamaica, and I called her because I wanted to do a program. And when I called her, she was admitted in the hospital. When I called her, she said that, I said, why were you admitted in the hospital? She said, well, they found blood clot. I said, blood clot? She said, yeah, blood clot. They found blood clot in her lungs. I said to her, most people who they find blood clot in their lungs don't live to tell the tale. So I said to her, if you have blood clot in your lungs, more than likely, you're eating something that you shouldn't be eating. So I start with her. I said, were you eating callaloo? She said, yes, she's eating lots of callaloo. And I said, green banana? She said, yes, she's eating. And as a matter of fact, she said, she had just came off a fast. And she was consuming a lot of green banana and a lot of callaloo. And she didn't tell the medical doctor that. They just admitted her in the hospital. But it's not just to deal with the problem. You have to also deal with the source. So from there, because she said that because of her blood cup, based on the amount of banana and calorie that she was eating, then she knew that was the problem. Spoke to another client from Barbados or Trinidad. She said, Dr. Ben, I'm admitted in the hospital. I said, what happened to you? She said, I'm bleeding profusely, fibroids, but I'm bleeding uncontrollably. I said, I said, that means you're drinking something you're not drinking. She said, the only thing she's drinking, and she's drinking it every day. I don't remember why she said she was drinking it, but she was drinking turmeric and ginger multiple times throughout the day, even when she was having her menstrual cycle. So I said, that's what kind of problem. You're consuming high levels of blood thinner. She was drinking so much that she was admitted. So now I'm saying that to say, because I want to talk about how herbs is implicated. Now, what's the difference between a herb and a food? What's the difference between herbs and food? Now, most herbs are usually nutritional, because herbs fall into two major categories. They're either what we call nutraceutical or they are nutritional. So, kalalu is a nutritional herb, and I'll tell you why. Pak choy is a nutritional herb. Kale, spinach, lettuce, all of these are herbs, but they are nutritional herbs. They are considered to be nutritional herbs because they have what is called a low alkaloid content. In other words, when you eat them green, the alkaloids, which is a type of chemical that when you consume too much, it damages the liver. Because these alkaloids are so low, when you eat them green, it does not affect your liver. Right? So these are, we call them nutritional herbs. Listen to me now. So, cabbage, callaloo, pak choy, spinach, all the vegetables that are considered to be nutritional herbs are only nutritional herbs based on the stage of their development. So when they are young, they are nutritional herbs. But if you allow those same nutritional herbs to mature or to reach their adult, what I call their adult stage, or to reach their full maturation stage, those same herbs that are considered to be nutritional herbs are now nutraceutical herbs. So those same herbs that didn't have enough alkaloids that could damage you, when they become mature, they become more medicinal. So when they are young, they are nutritional. When they become mature, they become more medicinal. And because they become more medicinal, they become more medicine. So when they are young, they are food. But when they become mature, they become medicine. Do you see that? When they are young, they are food. And when they become mature, they become medicinal. So most of the herbs that we take as medicines, when they are young, they can be consumed as foods. So young equal food, mature equal medicine. Now, this is very important for us to know, and the plants tell us, or teach persons, the plants tell us what state they are in. When the plants are young, they tell us, because usually they are tender, they are soft, and they have a texture that makes them what we call palatable, right? So, for example, lettuce, when it is young, it is nice, soft, tender. But when lettuce becomes mature, if you leave the lettuce, when you're harvesting your lettuce, oh, I'm going to leave some until they seed up. If you leave them until they seed up, that same lettuce takes on a different tone. It becomes bitter. Because bitter is a deterrence. It's telling you that I don't want you to eat a lot of me. So it's communicating to you. It's telling you if you eat too much, you're going to get sick. If you eat too much, you're going to get sick. Not only does it become bitter, but it also changes its texture so that it becomes no longer palatable. It's more medicinal, so you can ingest it, but because it's more medicinal, you have to take a smaller amount. When it's nutritional, you can consume a lot of it and not get sick. When it becomes more medicinal, you have to consume a smaller amount because it's more medicinal, it's more stronger, it's more potent. Now, nature has that intelligence. Nature has that intelligence, and our body also has that intelligence, right? Our body has that intelligence. And so what happens is that medicinal form that the plant is in is, or that potency that the plant has, is designed to be used at that level for a short period of time. So your food should be a medicine, not herbs, not the plant in its medicinal state. It is a plant in its nutritional state. But when you get sick, because you're having an emergency, the level of medicine that you need, you will not get it at its nutritional state. You have to get it more potent, so you have to get it in its medicinal mature state. And so what you need is, you need that medicinal stage of the plant, but you shouldn't continue on it, because prolonged use of a plant at that level can also harm you as well. So your food should be your medicine. That's what we should be teaching. Food as medicine. We should be teaching food as medicine. We should learn how to combine, when to harvest, how to use our plants. And so when I tell persons, since lately, I've been working. I've not been having my Sunday show because I've been working on our retreat facilities, because I know that in order to really help somebody, it's not to give them medicine. What I need is to take them in for a particular period of time and have them on the right foods for 14 to 21 days. And the body comes out of its crisis state. So the neuropathy begins to disappear. The blood pressure begins to disappear. The diabetes begins to disappear. The cancer begins to disappear. Because the body is in a crisis state. That is the reason why we have these manifestations. Most of these chronic ailments is how the body is communicating to us, telling us that something is wrong. And a lot of that crisis is because of the food. And a lot of that is because of the toxins that we ingest over a period of time. So almost any disease that you have are natural disease. So almost any disease that you have, natural, I can go into that. But Ratty is here, so I want to give him a chance. Almost any disease that you have that is natural, because one thing I want to tell persons is that we have been taught to be afraid of diseases. The system has wired our minds so that we see diseases as our enemy. And a disease is not your enemy. A disease is your friend. A disease is not your enemy. A disease is your friend. And so we are taught to fear disease. And I give an example. If you were driving down a highway and your car is overheating, and now that your car is overheating, you have an annoying red light that comes up in the dashboard. That annoying red light, and sometimes, let me use a seatbelt. You go in the vehicle, you don't put on the seatbelt, and there's an annoying sound. It's designed to be annoying because it's designed to be at dis-ease. It's designed to make you uncomfortable. But guess what happened? As soon as you lock the seatbelt, the noise goes away. So you don't have a noise problem, you have a seatbelt problem. The seatbelt is causing the noise. The noise is the disease. The disease is telling you that something is wrong, that you don't have on your seatbelt. But we get so focused and fixated on the disease that we don't pay attention to the cause of the disease. And so we've got to learn to interpret when the body is talking to us. When you have a toothache, you don't have a toothache problem, you have a bad cavity problem. A toothache is just telling you that something is wrong with the cavity. And so if you take a painkiller and the pain goes away, the bad tooth is still there. So this is how the body communicates to us. So cancer, diabetes, arthritis, neuropathy, all of those things that you think is bad, that is the body alarm system. Thank you, OT. So the body's alarm system is what we are fixated and focused on without going to the root problem. So what we have to do is that we have to be able to interpret the body's alarm system and know what is causing the alarm. Then we need to give the body the raw material it needs to repair, because unlike a car that needs to go to a mechanic, our body heals itself. The scripture says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Our body heals itself. Nearly every disease that you can, Dr. Ben, what's good for that? Every disease that you can raise, every disease that you can highlight, I can tell you, because all you're highlighting is just the alarm. You're highlighting what has caught your attention, and the body knows that's what is needed, because long before the alarm went off, the problem was there. The body was trying to fix it. The body was trying to remedy the situation, but the body realized that it didn't have the tool. The body was overwhelmed, so the body has to turn the alarm on to get your attention, to say, hey, I need help, I need intervention. And the root solution is your food. Let your medicine be your food, and your food your medicine. So really and truly, when we think about it, in fixing the problem, we need to have classes where we teach persons who spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Because a lot of persons who prepare the meals are preparing poisons that are getting us sick. And they have become experts in making poisons tasty, but completely ignorant in knowing how to prepare food. Ratty, welcome. Nice to have you. Nice to have you this evening, man.
Doc, everyone, wherever you are, morning, noon, night, evening. It's a pleasure to be here. No, I'm just here listening and getting an education. You got my attention when you said some people know how to prepare the poison.
Yeah. some of these women, because as we were taught by our mothers to prepare poisons. Mothers, it's a generational thing. Over a period of time, it's a generational thing where we have been taught to prepare poisons, and we have not been taught how to prepare food. When we talk about sometimes the root cause, what are constituted as the foods, some people will say, I've never heard about it, I've never heard that. And then one thing I said to the person is that a lot of what has been considered to be food, a lot of what has been domesticated as food, as vegetables, are the vegetables that are the dumb vegetables, the foolish vegetables. How do you know they're foolish now? These vegetables, if you take them and put them in the wild, they can't survive. Ask us the question, why would you want to make your diet based on something that has to be cared for by man? So pop choy has to be cared for by man. It can't grow in the wild. If you put it in the wild, it dies. If you put kale in the wild, it dies. If you put cabbage in the wild, it dies. It can't grow in the wild. It's not intelligent enough to grow by itself. So what we are putting in our body is foods that have no intelligence to pass on to our intelligent body. Because what happens now is that we need to understand the whole thing about, we know more about artificial intelligence than we know about natural intelligence. Right? Now, artificial intelligence, the persons who create artificial intelligence right now in a lab across the world, in all of those labs that they have artificial intelligence, do you know that all of those robots, all of those devices have to be trained? They have persons, for example, for the humanoid robot to walk. They have to study a baby. And all of those intelligence that a baby would use is what they have to be training these devices with in order to get them to carry out the tasks that they need to carry out. Our body is a naturally intelligent entity. And so being a natural intelligent entity, it is sustained, or it should be sustained, by another intelligent entity. The scripture says that, and he gave them herbs for the healing of the nation. In other words, our intelligent body needs intelligent food in order to repair this intelligent body. You can't give our intelligent body food that is foolish, food that is dumb, food that has no sense. So, how you know if food that has no sense? Do you know that the plants in the wild, they know how to adjust the chemicals in them so that they are not destroyed by insects and diseases? They know how to adjust. They know how to change and how to adapt. That's the reason why if you put cabbage and callaloo, they can't do it. You have to use fertilizers to do it because they don't know how to do it. So you have to use chemicals to do it for them. So it's important for us to understand, and that is what I'm focusing on. So I wanna focus on some vegetable like marigold. Anybody know marigold? Spanish needle. Anybody know Spanish needle? Anybody know fat and barrel? Anybody know wild hook? Bush cabbage? Purslane? Spirit weed? These are all the intelligent vegetables that we should be eating. These are all the intelligent. So when you get sick, so in the retreat that I'm trying to put together, when persons come, this is the food I want to give them. And I plan to go and market, get no food, get about it. Wild food. So when the persons come, we got into the bush. And we teach them how to identify intelligent foods and how to put intelligent food to work and how to juice intelligent food. Because these intelligent food, not only do they have minerals, not only do they have enzymes, but they have something that the industry is not telling us about. These foods have intelligence. So that's what I'm preaching. Intelligent food. Intelligent being needs intelligent food. And so one of the reasons why people are so sick is because they are feeding their body unintelligent food. You imagine you have a smartphone, and the smartphone needs repair, And you just go down to the road and find anybody in the road and give a smartphone and say, hey, fix this. No, you find people who are intelligent, more intelligent than you, because that intelligent phone is going to need an intelligent repair person. So, intelligent body, when it gets sick, need intelligent food to repair it. So, that is why our food should be our medicine, and our medicine should be our food. So, a lot of times, those swelling, those diabetes, a lot of the problem is because the body becomes confused, and it needs raw material to go to work, and it can't find the raw material. And so because of that, that's where the problem is. Dandelion, you have to, so dandelion is a wild food. Dandelion grow wild in New York. I'm not saying that you can use the one that you find in the city, but it's a wild food. Dandelion has as what is called resilience, which is one of the reasons why dandelion is good for the liver. Because there's a lot that we can learn from food, especially the dandelion when it is young. It's a vegetable. There's another herb that's grown. I don't see it here in Portland, but I know it's in St. James a lot. It's a herb called wild lettuce. Wild lettuce. Wild lettuce is a herb that when it becomes mature is one of the best painkiller or one of the best medicine for headache. When it's young, it's a nice vegetable. That's wild lettuce. So the lettuce that we have is the domesticated lettuce. The original lettuce is wild, grows in the wild. Lan says, can pictures of these Indian foods be found online? Can links? Yeah. A lot of these foods can be found, but a lot of them, what should I say now? They're not promoted, so you won't find them. They're not promoted, Lance. Because they're not promoted. A lot of these foods are not promoted, like bush cabbage, wild hook. A lot of these foods are not promoted, so you won't know them. You have to definitely know somebody who would have that traditional knowledge to be able to guide you. So that's one thing I want to get some of these on, so that I can show you what they look like. Give you a scientific name so you can fact check it and look it up. All right. Derek says Spanish needle. What Spanish needle good for? Spanish needle is what we call a salty herb. So Spanish needle is high in minerals. When it's young and you taste it, it's fresh. So it has lots of iron, so it's good for the blood. It's primarily good for the blood because it's high in chlorophyll as well. So it's good for the blood. It's a blood builder, and it also it's what we call a nutrient herb. It's high in a lot of nutrients. Like moringa, it's a nutrients dense herb. Yeah. So that's a very good plant to have. Yes, Ratty. So I said that we missed you at the event, and it was a wonderful event, well planned. The only thing missing was you. Yeah, man. It was well executed, well attended, and it was a phenomenal success.
Well, Doc, I want to tell you, I was enjoying the sights and sounds. Just watching it from Jeffrey Tavares was streaming it, and also we got some reports. Jamaica walked by.
Yes.
And it was well received, and I'm believe me, it grieved me that I couldn't be there. And people who know me, they know that something like this, I wouldn't just miss it just for the sake of missing it. You know what's funny, Dr. Ben? No matter what you're doing, you impact in your sales. No matter what you do. everybody's going to love you, not everybody's going to like
You're a little low. You're a little low.
Oh, you can't hear me? You can't hear me?
Much better now.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah. I was saying that people are going to have all kinds of remarks. And sometimes you avoid them. But then when your people now start saying, hey, these things are being said and you need to make a statement. Because on Saturday, I wasn't going to make a statement beyond, hey, look, I just couldn't make it. And then the folks around me say, yeah, just let them know just a little bit, just say, hey, you didn't get your doctor's clearance and therefore you can't travel. I hope that will suffice it, but I just found it interesting that people were more concerned about, and they were concerned about me in a negative way, and they were concerned about the message, because the important thing on Saturday is the message. Getting across the fact that civics is an essential subject. It's not being taught in school. And as a result of that, we have children who can't answer, or they don't understand the basic concepts. They don't understand the basic concepts. It's not their fault, because these children want to learn, but they haven't been provided the opportunity. Because they took civics out of the school as a standardized subject, and they started combining it, social studies, history, a whole bunch of things. The point where it just got watered down. And so a lady wrote me on Saturday, Dr. B, she said, the rally is positive. We need more of these rallies across the island to awaken the consciousness of our people. So that is what we're planning to do, and that is what we will do in the coming months and the coming years, because it's essential for us to get our people. Oh, audio bad. Your mic is not clear. Mic check. Hold on. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Yeah. Mic check. Mic check. Mic. Mic check. Mic check. Can you hear me now? Yeah? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Much better.
Mic check. Mic check. Okay. Yeah, like I was saying, so sorry I couldn't be there. The next one, I will be there. And then the one after that, I will be there. And I plan to be at every single one of them. And if there's one that I should miss, if there's one that I say, okay, I could miss, it's this one, the one that just went by, because we had so many people there. We had so many people on the ground. We had so many volunteers. We had a lot of things going on. And so I could afford to kind of like say, okay, you know what, I'm sorry I didn't make it, and start, feel a little bad, but said, look at all the things going on. Everything is being done in a professional manner. Everything is being handled. There were no incidents. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. It was a smashing success. And people started telling me that, and by the way, folks, the following morning, we planned the second one, which was Sunday morning, Dr. Ben. We planned the second one. And on Monday, we planned the third one. And the third one is going to be about almost a year from now, but it's being planned as we speak.
Wow.
Yeah. And the second one is going to be the first Saturday in December of this year.
The first one?
First Saturday of this year. First Saturday in December. We're reaching out to folks already. The feedback has been tremendous. They're looking forward to it. Stella, some stay where you are. I don't want to rush them targets. Alien said the rally was quite excited. Yeah, stay where you are. I don't want to rush them target. Well, look. Yeah, so we're going to have a second one and a third one and a fourth one. But here's a plan, people. Here's the plan. And we're going to talk a lot more about it this Saturday. The plan is the first one was done by the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation and its supporters. And that was the big one where we said, okay, we're going to invite everybody across the, across the nation. The second one, and going forward, we're going to have it done by the communities. So the communities are going to assist with presenting and providing and putting on the program. We will work alongside with each and every community where so we're going to work alongside the communities, and it is going to be every single one of them. I anticipate huge success because now you have people in the community. They know what the problems are. They can make the arrangements. We will collaborate. We'll cooperate with them. We'll provide speakers. We'll provide financial assistance where necessary. But already, I'll tell you what, the third one, I was just talking to a gentleman who happens to come from that region, and he says he's available and he's willing to feed 400 people. He can feed 400 people just off the bat. He said, I can feed 400 people. So
wow, that is good news. That is great.
Yeah. And this is just me talking to him and saying, listen, we're planning to have something in your neck of the woods. And him said, oh man, him said, I'd love to help. And him said, I can feed 400 people just off the bat. So it's all right, fine, no problem. So we've been talking about this community involvement, Dr. Ben, and it's essential because what we see happening is that we don't see happening. We don't see communities being involved to the extent that they should, and it's a variety of reasons.
But before you finish, Ratty, I want to highlight the three takeaway, and as I said that we want persons to actually, we get a chance to open the phone to talk about what their experience was like at the event. For me, the three takeaways were: one, the focus on civics. That was really a focal point, because it's not just about talking about the issues that are affecting Jamaica. Yes, we talk about them on the show, but now we have a system where we actually come not just to present. So that was one focal point. The fact that the show was balanced, there was three takeaways from the show, and I believe that these are three things that we want the events to be known for. One was the focus on civics, and the fact that it wasn't just done in a lecture format. It was done with different contributors coming, talking about the issues and talking about the responsibility that persons have. That was one. Two, there was the entertainment component. I never know, say, did you know that Mother P and only talk she can talk, Ratty? I see she put on some dance in there, brother.
You hear me?
Yeah, man. I see she put on some dance in there, man. Me only sorry say, I wonder if there was anything apart from you that was lacking. I wonder if we had clips. Because we should have had some highlight clips from the event to present like all tonight. So that was one. The entertainment package was good. The entertainment wasn't only for the adults, but it was for the kids as well. And then the third component for me was the fact that there were tangible products that was made available to the children that were tools that would impact and contribute to their education. That's tangible long-term investment. So there was 3 points were highlights of the event for me that when we do other events, my only hope is that we will continue to build on them. So we had artists that passed through that came and did their part, and what was also good was that with all of those 3 very important components, I don't want to forget your point. With all of those 3 important components, it was not at the expense of the quality setup. There was quality setup in terms of the infrastructural, tents and so on, infrastructure to host the event. So all of those for me, in giving grades, one Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation for me got high marks, and I know that maybe what it would cost to produce such an event, such a stellar event, I can only imagine that some persons carried or bore more of the burden, and we want to. And I'm gonna make the appeal because Ratty might not go appeal. And I'm from now I'm committing to do more, and I hope that we all do more, because let me tell you something. It was a stellar event, but a stellar event takes stellar money. It takes stellar resources, and Ratty and the others will not go into the details to tell you what it cost, but I can imagine. I know. I looked at it, and I looked at the quality of it, and I know that something like that really costs. So now that we know that it is in December, I can tell you that we don't want to wait until November before we are trying to find the money to give. We want to now start to collect from tonight. From tonight we want to start to collect. So those of you who have the $50, then $30, and then $20, we want OT. We want you to put up the information for persons to make donation, because we know the dates. We want to promote them early, and we want to be able not to pressure ourselves. We want to take the burden. We want OT and Rattigan and Joan and all the other teams. We want their input not to be from their pockets, because they had to give of themselves, they had to spend, and they had to be spent. So we want them to be spent, but we want all of us to spend so that that burden is not on them. So that was my takeaway from the event.
Let me just say, I'm very appreciative of your insights, your observations. And I suspect that a lot of people share the same observations, same takeaways. But let me just take time out to thank a lot of people. Thank the volunteers, the people who showed up to make sure that the event was properly presented. Make sure that the children were taken care of. Make sure that the tents were up, provide shade, that the food, and even though we didn't have control over the food came 3 hours late. But people were patient. People were patient. I just want to thank all of you for your patience. Thank the volunteers. Thank all the attendees, the children. They touched me when they did a little trip. They did a tribute to me, and they provided a plaque. Children out of Mandeville. Big up on yourself. Darrett, Merle, big up on yourself. Big up on yourself. Big up on yourself. Can't tell any big up on yourself enough. All the other people, big up on yourself. And Dr. Ben, you mentioned finances. There were people who didn't give us any money. but they gave us their blessings. And I tell them, I said, look, if you can't give, that's fine. Just wish us all the best. And there were some people who said, well, I'm wishing all the best. I mean, I pray for the success of this event. I want to thank those people, because if they had the money, they would have made a contribution. But they didn't, but they gave us the next best thing. And in fact, you know what? It's probably the best thing they could have given us. You know, pray for somebody to get blessings. It's probably the best thing they gave us. And then there were people who gave us a lot of money. I won't even say how much. There were people who gave us a lot of money. And they said, listen, no recognition is necessary. I don't want my name to be called. I don't want anything. I just want you to know that what you're doing, I support. And I will continue to support what you're doing. And there were some people, even after they gave, they came back and they gave again and again. There were people I know who gave 3, 4 times. This is not to diminish the people who gave us their prayers, because as I said to you before, we appreciated and we will continue to appreciate those prayers, because without the Almighty, these things can't take place, no matter how much people give you money and things like that. And there were people, these people gave with a willing heart. They gave with a willing heart. I can think of one person who gave a lot, and the person kept saying to me, listen, if you need more, just let me know. And up until the day before the event, that person was still running around trying to get things done, saying, you need this, you need that. Dr. Ben, we are truly blessed. We are truly blessed. And there were people who they gave in kind. They didn't give money, but they gave in kind, which was equally supportive or equally important to what the mission was about. So it was a coming together of like-minded people, of people who want to see the best for Jamaica, and they believe in the course that we are charting, and they're supporting it. And for all of you, from the, like I said, the people who gave us, who said the prayers for us, the people who gave us, you know, tangible things, the people who gave us cash, the volunteers, the people who promoted the event, the attendees, the children, the bus drivers, the people who brought water, look, it was a magnificent, people like all the speakers. We had some great speakers out there too. Great speakers. We had the entertainers. It was a magnificent event. Can't say enough about it, and I will say more. I will find words. I will find words to speak about the event this coming Saturday. Now, as some of you know, the second one is going to be held on Saturday, December 6th, at my place. My place. And here's what we're planning to do. It will be held. We're still in the planning stages, but we're planning to hold that event at the place where it started for me and a lot of people, Balmaji Primary School. We're going to go up to the foundation. I go to school, and the school is a lovely location because it's centrally located. It's in Waterhouse, but to the north of Fred. And we are going to invite surrounding communities. It's not just for the Waterhouse people. In fact, we're targeting schools. And we have 8 schools. 8 schools that we're targeting. And some of those schools are not in Waterhouse. They're in adjoining communities. And we're telling them, come, because the message is for one and all. And I suspect that by the time we get to Saturday the 6th, we're going to have more schools involved, because there are additional schools in communities that are in proximity to Waterhouse, but we haven't contacted those yet. We're still talking to people. And what will happen is this. If you live in that community, if you went to that school, we're asking you to come out and make this happen. There must be community involvement. You know, Dr. Ben, I was talking to somebody last night. And I said, and today as well, and I said, you know, it's Waterhouse, but it could be any community. And I said, you know, how many Rhodes scholars do we have coming out of Waterhouse? To the best of my knowledge, it's zero. How many PhDs, doctors, lawyers, engineers, pilots, dentists we have coming out of Waterhouse? Not just Waterhouse and the surrounding communities. Not very many. No, you go uptown and you ask, how many come from uptown? A lot. More than their fair share. And so I was thinking, why is it like that? Why? Is it because them born with bigger brain than our brain? Is it because them smart? No. Part of it is because of opportunities.
Definitely.
These opportunities. When I went to Balmaji, I can tell you that the teachers in Balmaji, they weren't the brightest compared to the prep school teachers. They weren't the smartest, but they were dedicated. These teachers gave us everything they had and more, because it was a proud moment for those teachers to say later on, a few years down the road, that, you know, that doctor, he was a student in my class. Or for that doctor to say, hey, thank you, Miss Brown, because had it not been for you, I would not be here today. We need to have more of that. But here's what I don't know if I'm right in this assessment, but what I've concluded, and I'm open to being fully corrected, what I've concluded is that there's a certain class, there's a certain set of people that have always run Jamaica, and it's not us. Certain class, certain set of people. And I say, you know what? Based on my experience, I don't know about anybody else's experience, but based on my experience, because I lived in the ghetto, but I went to school uptown. And based on my experience, it appeared to me that what happened is we were supposed to be the carriers of water and the hewers of whatever it is that Marcus Garvey would talk about. We were supposed to be the workers. And that was imposed on us, that you are nothing more than a worker. And we accepted that, and it became generational. And as a result of that, we can't seem to think beyond that fence that we're workers. But also, because you hear them talk sometimes, you know, when them hear some of the poor people, you know, when them hear the politicians them talk or anything like them, say, boy, are big people think that. No, it's our thing. It's not big people thing. The whole way of big people is our thing as well. But we just don't get involved in it. And part of it, you see,
Right.
is this. We don't, part of it is our fault. We don't get involved with our children in the ghetto. How many parents, and I admit that we have a lot of single parent homes, but how many parents actually take the time, sit down with their children after school and help them with homework? A lot of them cannot, because they went to school themselves and they don't know, they really can't help the child except to say, go do your homework. But they can't sit down and go through it with the child.
Right.
Do your homework and bring it so I can look at it and I can no. So one of the things that we're planning to do is to help some of these communities. And there's one community I'm aware of in St. Thomas. Big up yourself, my nephew, you know who me attack. They have something called a homework center. And what they've done in that small rural community is to have a location where they can bring in teachers to volunteer and help the children. It would be nice if they could also feed them as well, because you can't feed people on hungry stuff.
Can't teach them a hunger belly.
Right. So these are some of the things we need to break that cycle of thinking that your worth is defined by somebody else's perception. No, no, your worth is not defined. Your worth is defined by how you limit yourself. If you think you can't do it, you're right.
That's right. If you think you can, you're right too.
Right. Yeah. Somebody said, if you think you can or if you think you cannot, you're right. Because they are so. Start right or so. And so what we're doing, what we're planning to do is a change in Jamaica. So many people call me and say, listen, what happened on Saturday is the first time it happened in Jamaica. Because what we normally see, we see people come in and they give out tablets, they paint the school, they feed the children, they do this, they do that, but we don't see a message. We don't see a message.
Civics.
Yeah, civics. We see acts, we see action, but we don't see a message. What was the message you conveyed to the child when you just paint the school and you move on? What was that message? Right? A lot of them didn't get the message. So we said, no, the message is primary and the attractions are secondary. You need the attraction sometimes to get them there, but once you have them there, they're captured. Right? So what we're planning to do is have these things in small communities, have the community come together, collaborate with us, and then we want them to make this not a one-off situation, Dr. Ben. We want them to do this like every 6 months or so. They get together with the children, parents, teachers. By the way, how many people in the get-to-go parent-teachers association meeting? How many? How many of them bring back that information and share it with the community? Or take some of those significant messages and instill them in a child? How many? We have to get more involved in our communities. We cannot depend on government to do it all for us because the government is going to fail us. They're going to promise us and then not deliver. We have to go out there and show them that, listen, we have a sense of purpose. And we're going to start this. And then you demand that they support it. You don't go and beg for support. You demand it. You said, this is what we're doing. We are vote for now. And where we are educate our children so that them come up knowing that, listen, we are owners, we are financiers, we're employers, and we're also voters. We're not only voters. So this thing that we're planning, and Saturday I said we'll get into it in a deeper,
more details.
Yeah, we'll provide more details. But these are the things that we're planning to do because we want the community to really be involved because the communities that we're looking at, them just stagnant. There's nothing going on. People just sit back and just accept whatever is happening. And we're, master your destiny, captain of your fate, you know. So these are the things that we're working on. And we know, we're confident that these things will succeed because an educated population is unstoppable. And when you look at what's coming out of our schools right now, it's not promising. It's not promising. But we can turn things around. And we're going to do it one community at a time. So like I said, I'm going to give back. I'm going to give back to my community, my primary school. And I've already talked to people. And you know what, Dr. Ben? The other thing too is a lot of people went to this school, you know, or the 8 schools that we have that we're looking at right now. A lot of people, and some of them, they have groups.
Yes.
Said, listen,
past students associations and so on.
Yes, we're telling them, hey, come back to the community. Come back and give something to the community. If you help one child, that initiative is a success. That's how I look at it. One child, it's a success because we're doing it one at a time.
And you know, as you talk about that, Ratty, my mind goes back to I don't think I've ever said it on the show, but I grew up in Flankers. I grew up in Flankers in Montego Bay. St. James. I went to Flankers all-age school. And I remember when I was in grade 5. I was that, I wouldn't say slow, but that backwards. That at the age that I should be in grade 6, I was in grade 5.
Mm.
And even while I was in grade 5, I couldn't read. I learned to read when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I learned to read when I was 13 years old. And I remember, and that's why I said to teachers, teachers need to understand the very, very important role that they play. It's not something you take for granted. I remember I lived in Flankers, I lived on Churchill, and my school was Flankers School is at the bottom of the hill. And I remember I was in class one day, and it was a teacher, Mrs. Warburton. I've never been able to meet her, I've tried numerous times to find that teacher, Mrs. Warburton. I don't know if she's alive still. And I remember we were doing a particular lesson, and she sent me to the board. And when she sent me to the board, that was when she realized that I couldn't read. And she said to me, okay, tell her what I'm going to do. As of tomorrow, she called me lunchtime and she said, internet trouble. She called me lunchtime and she said, she called me lunchtime and she asked me where I live. I told her. And that time I had to leave school and go home every day for lunch. And then walk from church to come back to school. And she says, of tomorrow, I'm going to bring enough lunch for you and I. And I'm going to teach you to read. And I remember she brought enough lunch for me and herself. And she took her lunchtime. And it was during the lunchtime that she taught me to read. And I can never forget. It's very vivid in my mind. So I know what it feels like not being able to read. I know what it feels like being a person not being able to read. I know what it feels like seeing parents having children not being able to read. And so she took her lunchtime, and I remember the first word I learned to spell, Rattigan, the first word I learned to spell was the word public. I learned to read from a book called The Student's Companion.
Yeah, I know the book.
You know that book?
I know the book.
And I remember when I was coming down Mahogany Hill, and I was saying to my brother, I said, Peter, today I'm going to learn to read. And the first word that I wanted to spell, first word I learned to spell was public. But the first word that I wanted to spell was the word world. And I remember when I sat beside Mrs. Warbert and she was teaching me in my mind. I said, ask her the question. I said, no. I said, ask her the question. I said, Miss, hold on, Miss. I said, I want to ask you something. And she said, what is it? I said, I want to learn to spell the word world. And she said, okay, no problem. WORLD. And I said, no, Miss, no, man. And I want to spell the whole world. Yeah, man, it's WORLD. And I can at that point remember what it was like, because for me, I thought the word world would be a big word. It's a big place, it's a small word. And I remember telling my brother that I know to spell the word. And that was where Mrs. Warbert not only made sure that I learned to read, and that was where my journey began. I was in grade 5, couldn't read, so I couldn't go any further. Then the next year, I went to grade 7, and I read so much. How I learned from grade 5 to grade 7, Rattigan. I had learned so much that by grade 7, I was on the school had a quiz. I was on the quiz team by grade 7. And I remember that was where I read so much that's why I began to wear glasses, because when I read and took my head out of the book, all I saw was just blur. I had an insatiable appetite. And so who I am now and who I've evolved into, I owe a lot of that to one person, to one teacher. Imagine, one teacher. I'm on the show now because of one teacher. All the persons that I've helped in life, one teacher. You don't know, when in a classroom, a student sitting before you, you don't know who is sitting before you. And don't let it be about money. Don't let it be about anything else. One teacher changed my life and all the lives that I've gone on to change. I credit a lot of that to that one teacher. And so Flanker School was the foundation for me. And from there, because I never passed grade common entrance because I was too old for it. Then I had overage. And I was just developing, so I couldn't take overage. And so she helped me to get into a school called Nakalva Agricultural Schools, which was a second platform. So even my knowledge in herbs, my ability to grasp and to understand is due significantly to Nakalva Agricultural School, my firm foundation in the sciences, plant science and animal science. So when I went to Sandy Hill to study, hotspot near Norwood. So when I went to study natural medicine, I was able to grasp and assimilate a lot. So I grew up in the ghettos. Most of my friends died in their 20s. I lived in a crack yard. The yard that I lived in was very well known for selling crack cocaine. A lot of the persons who were on crack cocaine came to where the tenement yard that I lived in. That's where they got their crack. I saw people smoking it. I saw drugs. I saw prostitution. I saw all of that. And I just said, opportunity. If I didn't get the opportunity to leave and go to a boarding school, my reality maybe would have been very different. So as you said, it creates that impetus, that desire to want to give back. My reason for helping and giving back and sharing. Before I came into natural medicine, I spent a good 10 years of my life, maybe 15 years of my life, teaching reading. So my passion, herbs is one of the passions that I acquired, but my real passion in life has been teaching persons to read. And so that was because when I saw what Mrs. Warburton did for me, what I saw what Flanker School did for me, the closest I ever felt in terms of telling her thanks, because I've never met her, I've never seen her since. I don't know if she's alive. The closest I've ever come to say, Mrs. Robertson, thanks, has been to help somebody else to be able to read. So, that feeling of giving back is almost, when you do it, it's so rewarding, it's so fulfilling, so rewarding and fulfilling. And so, I can relate to what you're saying, because you know how much and you know what your early exposure to those areas and to that school, what has done for you and how it has instilled in you certain values.
Yes, indeed. It's one of those things where I used to say that America, because I came here when I was 17, I used to say America is a great equalizer. Because if I'd been in Jamaica, I am certain I would not be here today. I would not be here today if I'd lived in Jamaica beyond the time when I lived there, when I came here. And you know, Dr. Ben, I met some of the same guys who used to encourage me to go to school. Bad guys. I met some of them here. I met some of them in America. I met some of them, a very famous, infamous one. And he said to me, listen, if you were still in Jamaica, if you didn't leave when you left, things change. And you'd have to pick up a M16 and defend the area. Tell me that straight up. Him say, we couldn't just have you go school any longer and just come and go, and then we have to fight to defend the area. You have to pick up a gun and defend the area too. And most of the people I grew up with, most of them, dead or they went to prison. Most of them. I went to high school with just a handful of my friends went to high school. A handful went. Handful. Most of them, they drop out, they did this, they did that, they got killed, they went to prison. And when I came to America, my mother never forget that woman. She said to me, listen, you know that you're here, you're going to have to work. Never forget it. She said, you're going to have to work twice as hard as a white man to be equally recognized. That's what she said to me. She said, so this is not no fooling around time right now. It's not no fooling because you left Jamaica, so you never have to deal with the violence. But now you have an opportunity. Make use of your opportunity. That's what she said to me. And I remember days when I was in law school and I run out of money. Now I can't pay rent, phone bill, food. And I remember one day I called my mother and I said, Mama, we don't have no money, you know. And she said, don't worry, son, because guess what? Nobody are going to eat food this week because the grocery money will come. She said, go on a Western Union.
Wow. Man.
Yes. That's my mother. She said, nobody is eating inside here this week. You go on a Western Union and go pick up the money and take away off it, you know, pay for what you have to pay for, and that's it. No, I'm not going to cry tonight, though. But I tell you, I miss that lady there. Miss her terribly, terribly. Miss my father, too. Miss my father, but me and my mother, we had a special relationship, Dr. Ben. She and I share the same birthday. I'm her first child and I'm her only son.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And
you're the first child like me. First child for my mother.
And my mother, everywhere I've gone, I take my mother with me. My mother live with me. My mother, I tell you, she lived a full life. She traveled this world, unlike most people. My mother's been as soon as they say, hey, let's go, my mother should pack and ready. I tell you what, I was going to South Africa one time. I know me woke up in the airport. Me woke up, my mother come from Botswana, come back to America. It just happened that way. She was leaving the same day I was arriving. I'm see my mother at the airport. And she said, son, me I go back to America. And I say, yeah. She said, yeah, man. Yeah, I give Botswana a break, you know. She just pick up and she just go. She was just a live wire. She was just a spiritual soul. And she passed on that to me. Dr. Ben, you know my mother tell me? My mother sit down with me one day and she said to me, say, listen, a time for me to go home now, you know. This was when she was about 90. And I said, what do you mean a time for you to go home, mama? She said, no, man, a time for me to go home. I'm tired now, man, a time for me to go home. She said, my work done, you know, son. She said, everything that I could give to you so that you could be a success, I've given to you. I'm an empty vessel right now. I have nothing more to give to you. She said, my work on earth finish. So it's time for me to leave and go home now so that you can carry on and you can pass it on to your children and they can pass it on to their children. But my work finish. I've never seen somebody who just accepted death like that. She tell me, she said, me ready. I said, no, mama. She said, no, I don't want to be no burden, you know. Me say, you're not a burden. She said, no, man, me a burden because my work finish. My work finished. A time for me move on now. And you take the center stage and go on the way you need to do. So, you know, we talk about having teachers. We also have to talk about having parents. And we also have to talk about having a community that's supportive, because the community I grew up in, very deprived community, but very supportive. Very supportive. Sometimes I don't have money, and I just see a man in the corner give me a money and say, go on a school, youth. We don't want you to stay on the corner and be like, wait.
Oh. They know the value of education.
Yes, yes. And so when we said we're going to do number 2, we said, make it the number 1 and invite the whole of Jamaica. Whoever come, you know. But the second one, we said, no, me have to go back to Balmaji, because at the foundation that. And we have to start there. So, and it's not, and the way people look at Balmaji, they don't look at Balmaji as a school. They look at it as an institution within the community. Because a lot of people in certain sections of Waters, they went to that school. So that is what we are going to do with Waters. We are going to invite the adjoining community. And I can tell you right now, when I talk to some of them, and some of them watching the program right now, and them said to me, said, listen, not only we are going to support it, we're going to be there. Wherever we are in the world, we're going to be there for this event on Saturday, the 6th of December. In fact, I won't call her name. There's a young lady who's watching right now who she grew up 1 block from the school. And that young lady is supposed to be in Jamaica later on in December. And that young lady told me, I will be there on the 6th. And then I come back to my residence overseas, and then I'll return for my planned, the planned date, whatever I had planned before. But she said, I am going to be there. That date can't miss me. So people, what we have started is a movement, and I'm asking you to jump on board, because we're going to ask you to tell us about your community. And if you want us to do what we're doing with these other communities, we will definitely come in there, because at the end of the day, it's about saving one child at a time, saving one family at a time, saving one community at a time, so that we can save Jamaica. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we say it until it becomes a cliche. But as I say, when you think about Elon Musk, one man, and that's that one person, what he has done to the world and what the world would have been without him. It really takes just one person, to make that significant difference. And so sometimes it's easy for us to just look at persons as numerically another number. But people have the ability to make significant impact. And so we never know how or who that person is that we're going to impact. That's going to be the next trigger for a significant world event,
Indeed. Reggae Girl asked about Avenue H. Yes, Reggae Girl, they're coming, I think, not this coming Saturday, the following Saturday, and they're going to announce the date of the grand opening. And then that day, everybody will be aware of it. And I'm asking all of you to show up and show out. I will be there. I'll be broadcasting from there that date, that date. And so we're asking all of you to come out and support this not only the event, but to support the establishment.
I didn't say it, but I also want to big up Prezi. Prezi did a phenomenal. Wherever you are, Prezi, I hope you're watching. Prezi did a phenomenal. And I met Prezi's sister, by the way. Now I met Prezi's beautiful sister. She did a phenomenal job.
Fantastic singer. And then we have Jamaicans. We have so many people to thank. They have so many people that's how I was talking to producer Joan. I said, boy, Joan, I'm afraid to start calling names, because I know I'm gonna miss somebody, and I don't want to offend anybody. So we just say, big up everybody.
They know themselves. But I in my mind, I just want to single out. I left for a while, but I can tell you, Prezi did a phenomenal job. What's his name again? That entertainer is a singer. What's his name again? He,
Myers?
yes, man. Benji Myers, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, big up Benji. He did a phenomenal work, job as well. Was well received.
Dr. Ben, you know that Ilian is asking about the young female, that's Samantha. She's a 19-year-old law student at the University of the West Indies. I heard she did a phenomenal job. But we also can't leave out Dr. Knife. I heard Dr. Knife was standing there looking at the proceedings and was in awe. He was in awe.
Yeah, man. Dr. Knife. I didn't present because oh yes, he was on stage. Yeah, man. I know I had to leave for a while, so I missed out some things. But yeah, Dr. Knife did a phenomenal job as well.
Heard that he said, "Why I've never seen anything like this in Jamaica. We need more of this." He said, "I've never seen anything like this." And I spoke to him Sunday, and he told me the same thing. He said, "Man, you're onto something. You guys are onto something." And when I said to him, "Well, I want to do it at Waterhouse," he said, and listen to this. He said he's aware of about 8 people who went to the university who came from Waterhouse. And I said to myself, after I got off the phone, I said, 8 people. I don't know what the population of Waterhouse is, but it's significant. And only 8 people that he's aware of made it out of Waterhouse for God University. 8. And I said to myself, we go uptown, you can't find 8 people upon one street. We go to university. We have to do something about this. We have to do something about this education business. And what makes it even worse is the fact that so much money has gone missing out of that ministry. So much money has gone missing out of that ministry. Money that could have gone towards steering a child in the right direction. Preparing the next set of doctors for Jamaica, the next set of lawyers, the next set of engineers, next set of pilots, next set of dentists, next set of educators. And we are so consumed with money that we steal from our future. We've blighted our prospect to line our pockets because we're thinking as individuals. We're not thinking as community. And so when I see these politicians come out and them talk a whole bunch of nonsense, I have to just shake my head. And that's why, Dr. Ben, I'm so moved to do this, because it's one thing if you identify a problem. I always say to myself, what's next? You can't stop here. You have identified the problem. So what are you going to do about it? And it takes me back to my days of working in the intelligence community, where the basic idea about collecting intelligence was, what do you know? What don't you know? And the things that you don't know, what are you going to do about them? Very simple. Very, very simple. And so I am committed to this. I am very much committed to this. And I'm looking forward to Waterhouse. And also I'm looking forward to Mandeville. I could make the announcement for this to the third one. Mandeville.
It's the middle of the island now.
Yeah, we're going to Mandeville. Mandeville, big up on yourself. We're going to and the Mandeville people. I mean, the Mandeville people are very proactive people. Mandeville people are not people just sit back and react. They're proactive people. Mandeville people started planning already, Dr. Ben, and the event in Mandeville is going to be held next year. And they start planning already.
Wow.
They started already. Mandeville people, I want to thank Mandeville for the support what they provide last Saturday. A lot of support they provided. A lot of support. So, people, listen. The train has left the station and we're moving. And we're moving at a rapid pace because there's much work to be done. And we don't plan on leaving anybody behind. So stay tuned. And we're going to look to all of you for ideas, because we don't have a monopoly on ideas. We have some ideas, but we don't think that every single thing that we think of is correct. And so we're not arrogant people. We're humble people. And so we say, look, bring your ideas and I want to tell you this, Dr. Ben. Another thing I thought about was this. If we could get communities to, on a certain level, to reason with each other. I was thinking about a concept, an idea, an initiative called like Under the Tree or Under the Tent, where you can get some elders from different communities, them come and them sit down and them reason consciously, you know, whether it's politics or what, them sit down and them can, you actually would end up teaching them one of the greatest qualities, I think, and that is patience. To listen to somebody without interrupting. Just listen to what the person has said. Because a lot of time, Dr. Ben, we listen to speak. We don't listen to understand. We listen so that we can jump in and say what we want to say. We're not listening to say, what is this person really saying? Let me understand what the person is saying and see if it makes sense and see how it comports with what I'm thinking. We don't do that. We listen for jump in. Whenever there's a little gap, we just jump in and say what we have to say. And I'm hope like a community like Olympic Gardens now, and a community like Waterhouse, where they're represented by different political parties. I would love to see those communities come together and even have a debate contest. People sit down and them start talk about the issues. You know, you have a contest actually, where you say, okay, we're going to have a contest, and you can do it. You can start out small and then make it bigger as time goes by. But I just want to see people talking to each other. That's what I want. More talk, less violence.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because people have lost their reasoning ability, and so sometimes it's something that would add value to the whole civic components. If a topic is presented to both a topic is developed, and then the contributing debaters or the contributing persons would give their input around that. It would and the whole idea is to encourage what we call critical thinking, because a lot of persons have lost the ability to become critical thinkers. People react because they're more emotional, and so they're not able to focus and to dissect the issue at hand. Rather, they are responding to how strongly they feel about it. And so that is something, and so that's one primary objective, critical thinking, and the second one being we are losing in this fast-paced world that we have, where persons have become more connected with artificial intelligence and are going to be more connected with artificial intelligence. We need to have that, because back in the days, in the villages, we used to have a lot more discussions. We used to have a lot more critical thinkers, and we need to encourage that. As we talk about that, we also will learn to respect our elders. That is something that we are rapidly losing. We're not with a lot of young people don't have the respect, especially for elders, that they used to have, and we know part of that is because our society is trained now not to see elderly as valuable assets, as reservoirs of knowledge. Um, a lot of what I've learned, even though I've studied natural medicine, most of what I know was not from the training. Most of what I know was what I gleaned from the elderly persons that are around me. And so the elderly, even though they may not have been formally educated, are a reservoir of knowledge, or a reservoir of truth, and sometimes You know what happened? Their truth is so simple that it is profound. Sometimes we believe that the truth has to be sophisticated, and truth has to come from formal institutions. That we don't realize that a lot of the formal institutions and a lot of the the knowledge that they have and what has contributed significantly to who they are, they didn't get it from school. They got it from elderlies who they were able to rub shoulder with. And that's something that we need to push. That's something that we need to promote. So that's something that it will be good to structure a component of the future activities to focus on that.
All right, Dr. Ben, hold that thought. I have something I want to say, but a caller, I turned on the phone and somebody called. We didn't really officially open the line, but somebody just called. So caller, good night. Welcome to Conversation with Rattigan. Where are you calling from?
Good night, Roddy. I'm calling from West Palm Beach.
Yes,
From the Palm Beach over in Florida.
Yeah.
Love your show. You know what I mean? Love to hear your reasoning. And Roddy, I just want to give you your flowers, my brother. Your what you're doing and your contribution to the Jamaican people and the Jamaican society cannot be measured in just words, my brother. The event was a great event that you recently had, and much respect to you for that. And I do hope that people recognize that what you're doing, you don't have to do. You're doing it out of the love for your country and the respect for your people. And I just wanted to give you your flowers on that. No, I heard, I was listening to you about the topic that you just rose about community engagement, and it's a great idea, Roddy. But in order for us to have these kind of engagement, we have to have leadership in our communities.
Okay.
And I'm here in West Palm Beach. I live in a small community. I live in a village, one of the best villages in South Florida to live. I am also a community representative. I serve on the council body, commissioner, etc. Very involved in my community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one that always believe that I can't change the world, but if I can make a difference in my own community, then it will translate outside of my community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we do focus on representing our own communities just as a start, it will translate outside. But that takes leadership within communities, and communities that are void of leadership. It's hard for you to get that kind of interaction.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
And coupled now with technology, smartphones, AI, and people are so preoccupied with day-to-day living that it's very difficult. It's great when it happens, and communities that have this kind of dialogue, you can see it from afar in the communities. Just how the citizens in that community behave, and how the community look aesthetically. You can see it. Communities that are void of this, you can also see those communities, how those communities look aesthetically, and how the people in those communities behave towards each other.
Mm-hmm. True.
And these are facts.
All right.
Facts.
Well, look, I also want to thank you for your contribution, as always, timely and needed. And
yes, my brother.
I didn't know you were that involved, but continue to be involved, because if you haven't, you will become an inspiration to someone. Some child out there will say, I want to be like this person here. I want to be like this man here. And I'm sure you're going to take some understudies and say, listen, I want to, and this is what Dr. Ben was talking about, passing on the information, the education to the younger generation, so that we can.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. And it's important. Great, my brother. And we'll talk again. Appreciate it.
Thanks again for the call. All right. Bye-bye.
As he made that point, Ratty, because I'm just listening, and I'm just things are just coming out. One of the things I want to do, and I'm gonna make that commitment for the next event, because what is happening is an evolution into an organic community-based initiative, which is everything in Jamaica, reggae music and everything that has come out of Jamaica, that has influenced Jamaica and the world, happened at a community level. It organically started as a community level. And that's when you know when something is going to become great. When you see that it takes on the nature of a community. One thing I want to do next year, without being well, is I'm going to make the effort to have at that event on display a lot of the vegetables that I've spoken about. It's not just to talk about herbs and so on, but what I want to do next year, all being well, and maybe subsequently, is to have available a lot of these plants so persons can see them. And if I'm allowed, what I think I would want to do is maybe see if I can work with somebody. I know I can do it by myself, but because of what I have on my plate, if I can get somebody to work with, we can create. I'd love to create what do you call it now? Some recipes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to create some recipes where when persons walk away, they will not only see and identify these, what I call alkaline indigenous vegetables, but they can walk away with recipes of how to prepare them. So it's not just intellectual knowledge, but it is applicable knowledge. So persons who come with diabetes, who come with high blood pressure, we're not just saying theoretically this can help. I'm looking for recipes that are soups, recipes that are juices, recipes that are meals that person can walk away. Because one thing that I've always wanted to do is to dispel the myth of food shortage. There's an abundance of food in the wild, and it is safe because these are all foods that I'm telling you our ancestors 50 years ago, as it relates to the list of what is constituted to be food and vegetable, these plants would have been included in them. It's just that somehow, somewhere along the way, these foods have lost. And I remember I did an initiative. I went to the market in Montego Bay at that time because I'm very passionate. And I brought a speaker and a microphone, and I did a presentation in the market in Montego Bay. And about a week or 2 or 3 after, one of the things that I found out was that there's this banana called Burro banana. There were persons who were growing these crops, that they were feeding them to their pigs and they were feeding them to their animals. And after doing that presentation, I was now able to see Burro banana being made available in the market in Montego Bay. And I was able to see arrowroot. Again, this was another vegetable food crop that babies, because back then, babies, we never had cereal, or we never had formula. We never had formula. Back then, our ancestors would get the arrowroot. They would grate it, they would sun it, and they would put it in a container. And when we needed to feed the baby, this was what they would do. They would get the arrowroot powder, add it to the hot water, and add whatever else was needed. And this was the formula that children used to be fed on. So the point I'm making is that after that presentation, I was able to see the actual practical application where these foods were now being sold in the market. And so after doing that, I would want to see even if we could have some focus on organic farming, where we could even have some, after we leave that event, and we disperse that knowledge, we can see some of these vegetables being made available. And that's how, at a community level, we're able to begin to impact Jamaica.
You know what? Yeah, good point. I would like to see that you said next year. I would like to see it done in December, because every community,
yes,
piece of that then. Every community is supposed to get a piece of your knowledge. Every community, because remember you were saying that, hey, listen, I can't do this alone. I need people I can train. Well, here's the opportunity, my brother, because you know who you might find when you show up there. You might find quite a few people said, you know what, I'm interested. I want to work with you. Teach me. And there we go. Let me just say, let me give you an example, folks. I was just thinking about this over the last couple of days. Let me give an example of the kind of reasoning I'm thinking about between communities. And the gentleman who just called a while ago said, you have to have leaders in these communities, real leaders, people who are concerned and interested about the welfare of the families and the community, and by extension, Jamaica. But they have to be people, well-meaning people, not, people of questionable character. Here's where I'd like to take it. Here's what I'd like to see. We've been talking about the Dennis Strong incident, and so the Dennis Strong prejudged the Prime Minister's case. And I think all of you, I don't have to go into detail because I think all of you are aware of this situation where Mr. Strong was selected by the Office of the Services Commission to become the Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigative Division. Now, that's the body that's investigating the Prime Minister for illicit enrichment, or at least they received a referral from the Integrity Commission to look into the matter, because the Integrity Commission said the Prime Minister did not cooperate with it, and they couldn't get him to cooperate, so they sent it over. And we are aware that Mr. Chung made statements showing his predisposition about the issue, and people felt that it wasn't fair. Plus, initially, the posting for the job said you must have 12 years of law enforcement experience, 5 at a senior level. And then when the job was reposted, that requirement was removed, even though the Financial Investigative Division is considered a law enforcement agency. And Mr. Dennis Chung has no law enforcement background that we're aware of. None. Now, here's how I would like to see people. And, you have people, they're in different camps. Politically, you have the opposition saying, no, it can't go, so that is unfair, it's unjust, it's done to thwart justice, it's done to make sure the Prime Minister is set free. And then you have the Mr. Dennis Strong supporters saying, no, there's nothing wrong with it. He can sit there and he can render justice. He can be impartial along with his team. It's not a problem. Here's how I would like for us to start looking at these issues. We want to look at these issues as teachable moments. Because if I ask all of these people talking, if I said to them, how many of you have ever read the Financial Investigative Division Act, the law that brought this thing into existence? How many of you have ever read it to see the relationship between the Chief Technical Director and the Minister of Finance and the investigations that should be conducted and the other business of the FID? How many of you have read it? Very few. So, and how many of you are aware of how laws are passed in Jamaica? Well, now, on this platform, everybody knows, because, everybody bright on this, and we'll go through that. But I'm talking about out there, Greater Jamaica. Very few people. Now, if we could sit down and reason and say, okay, let's reason this out. Let's reason this out now. What is the FID? What governs the FID? What laws govern the FID? How did that law, how was it passed? What's the relationship between the FID and the minister? What's the relationship between the FID and the DPP? I would just dissect it. If people could just look at it like that and said, okay, now let's look at what the Integrity Commission said in their report to the FID. And why did they pass the report to the FID? Were they supposed to? Were they authorized? Could they do it, pass it to the FID? And then once you've looked at it, you start discussing the pros and cons. But where I'd really like to get us to go is, there is a problem. How do we resolve the problem? Not just take up different camps and say, blah, 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 blah. No, it's say, hey, And if we're truly well-meaning people, if we truly are honest in our assessment of the situation, you see the problem. The problem is staring you in the face. And we say, okay, how do we address this kind of a problem? We're going to talk about that on Saturday. But that is where I'd like to get us to go. Where we can actually say, okay, we disagree at first blush. Now let's pull out the facts now and look and see if we really disagree or we should be in agreement. And then we start doing that. Somebody has to start someplace, and we have to exert patience. We have to listen to understand and not listen to interrupt. That's what we have to do. And I'm telling you, it's a wonderful exercise because it's going to start training your mind to be a critical thinker. So somebody comes and they tell you this. And then what you do is you say, okay, let me do that to verify if that information is correct. Because you hear some people come and they say, oh, we got intelligence. No, you got information. Intelligence is the refined product from information. Information is not intelligence until it is intelligence. And there's a process to get it to intelligence. But that's what we want to do. We want to take information, process that information so that we can become intelligent about the subject matter. So that even at the end of the day, if we disagree from the standpoint of knowledge. I know, but I take a different perspective. You know, you take a different perspective. But at the end of the day, we all know what the facts are. We all know what governs this situation. That's where I'd like to see us go. We have to be mature in our thought process. We can't do it based on emotions. And you know, I hear this thing about die-hearted political party supporters. When did we become die-hearted political party supporters? We were born as people. We weren't born as supporters. We were born as people. Somebody put that in your head that you're supposed to be this or be that. When did we become die-hard? We were people before we became political supporters. We were people before there was a political party. And so all I'm asking you to do is to think and not follow. Think and not follow. And if you take that step, it is a journey that is as enjoyable as any other journey. You just have to start it, because when you're able to start thinking for yourself, it's a delightful feeling. When somebody tells you nonsense and you can cut through it and get to the substance and said, no, you can't fool me, man. This is a substance. You're telling me this, but it's not that. It's over here. It's right here. When you can do that. And I have some experience in it, and there are others with lots of experience, and we would like to become involved in the process with you. I am not going to stop. I'm going to continue, because Jamaica has a bright future. Bright future. But we're in the dark right now. We just need to turn on the light, get people acquainted. When you start stealing money from schools, that's abominable. When it's proven that you have stolen from school, you should go to prison. When it's proved that you've stolen money from the healthcare sector, you should go to prison. When it's proven that you're violating people's rights as members of the national security team or the authorities, you should go to prison. When you failed us in foreign policy, you should be removed. When you have unexplained wealth, you should be investigated. And if you cannot explain the wealth, then you should be charged and you should suffer the consequences. And instead of trying to remove somebody who's doing her job, like Pamela Monroe Ellis, we should be celebrating that lady. We should be lauding her efforts. We should be recognizing her success. And this lady is so quiet, Dr. Ben. She not come out and make no nice pan nobody. She do her report. She submit her report. That's that. And then her reports are highlighted by others. And now, we're going to do a story on it this Saturday. And we're going to show you the nonsensical idea of trying to remove her. We're going to show you. We're going to dig deep in the Constitution. So come prepared with your pen and your paper, because we want, when you go out on the streets or you're at home or in the markets, at the bar or wherever you are, you can intelligently explain to people what's going on. And you can become the teacher. We don't want to say, me did hear, say, no, we want, that's why when we do our thing on a Saturday, we show you the documentation so that you can go and read it for yourself. And so that when you start to teach, you can see the Constitution. This law says that this person said this on a certain date. It's reported here. Hansard proceedings, ATIs. We're going to get there, people. It cannot be that Rattigan alone file ATIs. It cannot be. And when I say that, I know I'm not the only person filing ATIs. But the point I'm trying to make is that it should be widespread. Should be lots of people doing it. There are people doing it, but not enough. Not enough. So Miss Rita says she want happy if she wake up on morning to hear that Andrew's in jail. Miss Rita, how old people are going to be happy? Old people are going to be happy. But in the fullness of time, all things will be revealed in the fullness of time. So we're going to open the phone lines now. Oh, hope I'll put it up. 10,
yeah, I did say, we wanted to get some feedback from the rally.
Oh, yeah, people calling.
Yeah, what was their feedback? What was your takeaway points? Give us some feedback and tell us what were the takeaway points and who you met and so on and so forth.
Reggae girls, I must open up my eyes. Reggae girl, I tell you sometimes, reggae girl is when I not talk from deep within. And it's a reaction that I'm aware of it, but sometimes I have no control over it, meaning that I don't even think about it. Because sometimes, it's like when I close my eyes, I can actually
envision better.
Exactly. We can hug up the issue. Just not talk. Now hug it up. Hold on a second there. Caller, good night. Welcome to Come Reason with Rattigan with Dr. Ben and Wil Rattigan. Where are you calling from?
Philadelphia, Mr. Rattigan.
Miss Philadelphia, go ahead, please. The floor is yours.
Okay, Dr. Ben, good night.
Good night.
This is not about the rally. This is not about the rally. Okay? I have about 2 questions for you. 2 short questions. And the first one is, what can one do to improve heart health and reduce the risk of heart disease? That's number 1, because it has been becoming more prevalent now. People coming down with heart disease, getting strokes and whatever. Question number 2. It pertains to the same heart disease. Which gender is more prone to heart disease?
All right, very good. Very good question. All right, so when we talk about the heart, we're talking about what I call musculoskeletal nerve. It's hard to talk about the heart or the cardiovascular system because the musculoskeletal nerve is 3 very closely related issues. Once you have a heart issue, it affects those nerve and skeletal system as well. So one thing that you want to do is you want to avoid high cholesterol foods that can clog up two things that can clog up the cardiovascular system and that can cause calcification in the cardiovascular system. As we get older, what tends to happen is that there's usually a buildup of plaque, which is caused by certain proteins, cholesterol proteins, and so you want to stay away from a lot of fried foods. You want to stay away from too much animal fats. You also want to increase your physical activity so that you can have a healthy heart rate, so that you can have the blood vessels being very elastic, because there's another issue that will affect the blood vessels. As we get older, the blood vessels tend to become what we call hardened or calcified. And so once that happens, then the blood vessels don't dilate as they should. And those can lead to poor circulation, those can lead to swelling. And we have to remember that because the heart is a muscle, there are certain vitamins that support muscles. For example, having enough vitamin K, having enough potassium. One way of knowing that your cardiovascular system is at risk is when you start to find that you're having lots of muscle contract. Usually when you have lots of muscle contract, it's a sign that you're low or deficient in magnesium. And so dark green leafy vegetables are high in the minerals and the nutrients and the enzymes that support a healthy cardiovascular system. We find that in terms of gender, men are more predisposed to having cardiovascular issues than women. Part of that is due to the rigorous work that is more that men are more attuned to. You find that most men are into construction. You find that they are into labor-intensive activities, and so their musculoskeletal nerve comes under a lot of pressure. And so because of that increased pressure, poor nutrition, then they are more likely to be high at risk than women. And so men especially have to take very good care of their cardiovascular system. Some men are construction workers, and what they eat for lunch is bun and soda, bun and cheese and soda, or bun and bulla. And for most of the time, they're mixing and they're lifting blocks, they're casting, and they're not eating what would support that labor-intensive activity. And so they're especially at risk for cardiovascular disease. So, and it's sad because a lot of the times the the nature of the work, the rate at which they work, the rate at which the body is working for is not earning enough to sustain the body. It's not, the nature of the work, the labor intensiveness, the amount of manual labor that is exerted, the amount of energy that is demanded, the amount of money that you make per day sometimes is not enough to supply a diet that is conducive to that level of work. And so we find that a lot of our men are at risk. When they get sick, sometimes they can't even afford to take care of themselves.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Let me just let me just skip over to a point here, and that is a lot of people in Jamaica, and I believe this to be the case. I don't have any empirical evidence. I can't give you a percentage. What I can tell you is that before people started listening to the program, Reason with Rattigan, they weren't paying attention to a document called a manifesto. They heard about it, but not a lot of them read that document. Well, I've read a few manifestos, particularly the ones issued by the government, when it was in the opposition back in 2016 and as government in 2020. Why am I telling you this? Telling you this because a manifesto, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, is a document looking to the future. It's a document of promises or commitments, as the Prime Minister would love to have it described. It is saying, we promise to do the following for you in the next term. Now, they are worried this time around because they know somebody's reading that manifesto and is dissecting that manifesto and is bringing the truth to you. This time around, folks, I want you to pay careful attention because the manifesto is supposed to come out real soon. And you know who will be reading it. Lots of people, plus me. I will be reading it and I will be dissecting it because here's one thing, and I'm giving them advance notice. Do not, in that manifesto, spend the first 10, 15 pages telling us about 250 things you did since 2016. That is not a manifesto. A manifesto is about what you're planning to do. And if you put 250 things inside here that you did, I am going to do something that you're going to dislike. I am going to put out information showing 750 things that you didn't do. I'm just being facetious when I say 750, but I think you get my point. My point is this, that I'm going to point out the things, especially the big things that you promised and you didn't deliver, or you delivered late, or you partially delivered, but you didn't deliver the way you said you were going to deliver. Don't let them fool you, people, because this election is a referendum. When you look on the government side, it's a referendum on performance. This election is about a referendum on performance. So you go back and you look at the two manifestos and you say, okay, you promised us 1,000 things. And now you're coming to tell us that you did 250. Well, what about the 750? What about the 750? Don't let them fool you. Do not let them fool you. And then the other thing is this. And look at both manifestos. Look at both of them. Because both parties will be, well, I think other parties third parties are involved as well. Read all the manifestos. And those who can't read, come around here because we are going to read and dissect and we're going to put the information out there to you and we're going to show you. We're not just going to tell you so you can run and say, well, them said. No, we're going to show you so that you can tell people on page 9, this is what it says. Another thing is this, people are concerned about a free and fair election. I've said it and I will continue to say it. There is a group in Washington, D.C., and it's called the Carter Center, named after the former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. And one of their jobs is to do election oversight. They have been to Jamaica. Now, in order for them to go anywhere and be involved in election oversight, they must be invited by host country government. So the government must say, come on in. What I am proposing is this. All of the opposition, third parties, what they should do is they must submit something to the government and let the people know that we're asking you based on past performance. We have a feeling that this election might not be free and fair. Based on anecdotes, based on videotapes, based on this, based on that. And therefore, we're asking you to ask the Carter Center to come in and exert oversight. And make it public. When you do this with the government, you make it public. Send them an open letter. Put it in the newspapers. Say it on the news. So that everybody will know that this is what we're asking for. We want a free and fair election. And if they don't respond, then it's incumbent upon all of civil society, the trade unions, the academia, the faith-based organizations, business organizations. It's incumbent upon all of you to then draft a letter, send it to the Carter Center and say, listen, we have asked the government to invite you in. And to the best of our knowledge, it has not. We are now asking you to reconsider, or asking you to consider talking to the government, to have the government invite you to come in. I'm asking interested parties to do that. Because what we don't want to have is, we don't want to have the election is over and we are, oh, them pay $10,000 vote, them give a man a 2-piece chicken and a t-shirt, and them get this, or them bring some ink round and give the man some money, and them dip him finger in the ink. And by the way, should this happen for this election, people, everybody have a smartphone, please make a videotape. Please send us the voice note. If you know of anybody taking money to cast their vote, please let us know. Please, please let us know. We need a free and fair election. So those are the 2 points I'm going to make. Dr. Ben, you have anything to add? The phone line is open, people. 667-369-8569.
Yeah, man. I really want to get some feedback from the, we only have a few minutes left from the rally. Was really a wonderful event, and as I said, that shared my takeaway, and really want to get some feedback from persons. I see Antonio Brown.
Well, good night. Welcome to Comrades in Traffic. Where are you calling from?
Florida.
Yes, sir.
Good night, brother. Good night, brother Rattigan and Dr. Ben.
Yes, sir.
I got a question in regards to Trump. Could there be a lawsuit against the government or the appointment? Why would change the term of employment change or any kind of thing you could flush out the information? How could you go about flushing out the information except the AIT?
The ATI. All right.
ATI.
Yeah, no worries. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you could start with the ATI. And I tell you what, hang up and let me take this other call and then listen for the answer. And then if you have other questions, then please let me know.
Good.
Caller, good night. Welcome to.
Mr. Rattigan, it's me again. I have 3 things I want to say quickly. Not nobody not calling for the rally, so make use of the time. Anyway, Mr. Rattigan, NEPO, the Prime Minister, should he pay the people who got damaged through the fish kill, the fishes that were killed in the Reconnection? Mm-hmm. Yes. Why I ask a question, because we know about that closed deal within the court, and all of that was sealed away, that nobody used to know what happened. And we realized that money was paid over. Am I correct?
Yes.
To the government?
I believe I have to go back and check, but I believe there was some compensation. There was an agreement. There was an agreement to going forward to contain spillage into the Rio Cobre? Not sure if
It
money
was.
was paid. I have the documents here. I just have to go back and double check.
I should think so that money was paid over. But the thing is, who did collect that money? Because I would say, to me, I could be wrong or allegedly, Andrew Owens collected that money because this ministry is under his domain too. It's one of them that he controls. So for me, allegedly, for now, I'm thinking Andrew Owens have collected that money and they sealed that deal within the court with the Paula Llewellyn, because I don't know if by now you realize that nothing will come of that because no evidence was collected.
Well,
And why did no evidence collected? That's under Andrew domain, that ministry. So therefore, once it's on the Andrew Owens domain, of course, no evidence would be collected. So that is a done deal within the court that nothing can go on because there's no evidence to substantiate whatever has happened. And these type of things just keep happening over and over. And for sure, we realize why Paul Lewin is still there and they rigged the Constitution to keep her there because so much mess and dirty stuff. And no one, you see, just coming out little by little, Mr. Rattigan, why she's really in the position up to now. And then I look back to, I'm going to finish up quickly. I look back to and see how the money Andrew Owens collected from Kamala Harris in the COVID time situation there. That $10 million were for the at-risk youth in Jamaica. Andrew take that money and he did whatever he wants to do with the money. Now, when we look at these young men wiping the windscreen at the stoplight, these are some of the people identified as at-risk youth to be helped, right? They should be helped, to get off the streets and find themselves viable doing something good. They are still there. Andrew collected all of that money and whatever he does with it, and then nobody not to say anything about it. All these things. Then the PAT program, now he comes in and he cuts that. The relatives, mothers, whoever used to collect those money on behalf of the children who need it. Now, so much is taken off of that money. What is Andrew doing with all of that money that he takes? He didn't come and say anything to the people who are collecting the money. The parents, I will have to do so or so or so. Nothing. He just go about and he just do whatever he wants and he's not accountable to the people. How can something be like that? What can that balance that he left of $2,000 something do? What can that do? This is really, I don't have any words to describe this man no more. I'm run out of words. How can this be, Mr. Rattigan? You just take out what you want out of the money, and he takes a great portion out of it too. And no answer, and nobody not to question it. And this is just a tip of the many things Andrew Owens has done. And I want to ask the question and get off the phone. People seem like they forget easily when they look back, and it's numberless the amount of things Andrew Owens has done. And these are the same JLP. People gonna put Andrew Owens back into government? This is pathetic, Mr. Rattigan. It can't be. They must look down the road. All that Andrew Owens has prevented them from having as to becoming somebody real viable, achieving, moving up the ladder. Instead, they are falling off way down to the ground. Boom, right down they go again. Mr. Rattigan, there's much more, but I'll leave the rest. Somebody else can call in. But these things I keep thinking about. And if I am thinking about it, why can't those people who believe in him so much not think about these things? to cast their vote for the right reason. We're not listening to
Good
them.
night. Good night. Now here's the thing. No, we have to come to terms with our value system, our morals. Are we beholden to a politician? Are we beholden to the truth? And I think that goes to the heart of the issues raised by Miss Philadelphia. She's saying, I can't believe after all of these things that have happened that people are still supporting him. Now, to be fair, and we try to be balanced and fair and independent around here. To be fair, we have the things that she raised about the real Cobra money going to the Prime Minister. We have no independent verification of that. We have no proof of that. In fact, I would say that it's likely that whatever money, if any money was collected, it went to the consolidation fund, consolidated fund, to be disbursed for other things. That's probably weird. I don't think I don't think a company would pay the government and then the Prime Minister a company would pay the Prime Minister through the court system or under the supervision of the court system, and then the Prime Minister would take that money and put it in pocket. It's unlikely that that took place. What's more likely is that there was a settlement, the court sanctioned the settlement, and the money went into the consolidated fund. Now, the issue of the Kamala Harris, the $10 million for the unattached youth, we haven't seen how that money was spent. Miss Philadelphia, I agree with you on that point. We haven't seen how the money was spent, and we need to know. The DPP, you mentioned about the DPP throwing out the real Cobra case, whatever. The DPP, to be clear, the DPP was involved, but only to the extent that she asked for the file. She did not receive the file because they have attorneys over at NEPA who represented NEPA in court. They're the ones who crafted that agreement. It wasn't the DPP. When they settled the matter, the DPP was still waiting for the file to be sent over. But it just shows how dysfunctional the system is, because the DPP is the ultimate prosecutor, and the DPP did ask for the file to be sent over before the agreement was made. And I think the NEPA attorney or NEPA said that they sent the file over, they didn't hear from the DPP. And so they went ahead and they settled the matter. Either way, it's dysfunctional. Whether they sent it or they didn't send it, whether they sent it or they didn't send it, it's dysfunctional. The path and the path program, the cut, this is just death by 1,000 cuts. They're cutting everything. So that's why I'm just interested to see the manifesto, to see what they're saying that they didn't cut and how people benefited greatly from their programs. But we're going to be watching. And all of the people are this one person who claims that he's the editor, or he edited one of the manifestos. I just want that person to know, go ahead and edit this one, because we're going to be looking at it and looking at your handiwork. And we're going to be critical of it as we were of the previous manifestos. So don't put any foolishness in it, because we're reading it, we're analyzing it, we're dissecting it, and we're going to disseminate it. So you have been duly notified. And I'm trying. Oh, and Dennis Strong, the gentleman who called first and asked about Dennis Strong, whether or not Dennis Strong can be removed to the court system or through any other means. I have to go back. I was looking for it yesterday. I have to go back and look at the terms of his engagement with the FID. If the appointment, I have to look at the length of the appointment and the circumstances under which he can be removed. I don't want to give you an answer right now because I'm not 100% sure. But I will be by Saturday. So if you tune in Saturday, you will get the full scoop as to how he was appointed, for how long he was appointed, how can he be removed, and who can remove him. We want to know if the Governor General has a role in that as well, because I know with some appointments, he can convene a tribunal and have that tribunal provide him with their assessment of an investigation conducted by them, and then they'll give him a recommendation as to whether or not the person should be removed, and then he can. But I'm not sure about this case, so I'm going to get myself up to speed on it, see, the length of the thing. But I tell you what, while we're talking about this Mr. Dennis Strong here, I just want to, and I'm going to put up the chart this Saturday so people can understand, because a lot of us, we're visual. We see things and then we remember. When people tell you things, sometimes it's not necessarily that you forget, but sometimes we tend to embellish, but once the chart is there, it's there. But there are three ways Mr. Dennis Strong can go right now. At least 3 ways I can think of. One is he can look at the investigation and just say, "Sure, not there, so I've already prejudged this matter and there's nothing here." That's one. End the investigation. 2, he can go to the minister and say, "Minister, what do you think?" Because remember, Mr. Dennis Strong is responsible for the day-to-day activities of the FID, and he's also responsible to report to the Minister of Finance, Minister Favour Williams. She could play a role in it as well, to say, well, we're not going to go any further with it. And don't forget that Minister Favour Williams reports directly to the Prime Minister. Of course, she reports to the Cabinet and Parliament and all of that. But there's a direct line of reporting to the Prime Minister as well. So what you have now, you have Dennis Strong at FID reporting to the Minister of Finance, and then you have the Minister of Finance reporting to the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister can call over the Minister of Finance anytime he wants. He can say, "Come over and see me at my house, Vale Royal, Jamaica House, wherever." And she dare not say no. She has to go, must go. It's a command. If he says, "You need to come now," she's going. And who knows what kind of conversation they could have. We don't know. We don't know. But based on the track record, we have a pretty good idea. Because I want you to remember, people, that this Minister of Finance, Favour Williams, Mrs. Favour Williams, is the same lady who, when she was Minister of Education, and Dr. Denzel Williams, I believe his name was competed with several people to head up the Mona campus of the university. And he beat them street and lane. Every exam, every interview, he scored the highest. And she paused the support. She did not want to give him the support. And the university, even though they didn't have to do it, they held off on making the appointment because they were afraid that the government of Jamaica would not, or would pull its financial support of the university. And it appeared as if they wanted a person who's a JLP supporter, because the feeling was that Mr. Denzel Williams, that he was a PNP supporter, and they wanted to support somebody else. The problem was that person did not measure up to Mr. Williams. They gave them objective questions, they gave them objective tests, and Mr. Williams whopped them street and lane, all of them. I think there were like 1, 2, 3. I think there were about 4 candidates, 5 in all, I believe. And then batter bruised them. And she didn't want to give the man the job. Similarly, the Prime Minister, if you remember, when the Chief Justice got the job, Prime Minister said, "I want to put you basically on probation. I want to see how you're going to perform." The Constitution no call for that. Can you imagine that? You have a Chief Justice and you have him tethered. You have him tied up because you tell him, say, "Listen, I'm going to watch you You're on probation and you're going to see how you're going to make your rulings before you get this job permanently. And it was the civil society and the legal society, they came out among other groups. And they said, no, Mr. Prime Minister, this can't work. And that was when he said, okay, fine. So we have a history of them doing all of these things. And here's the funny thing. You have these two people, eminently qualified, and their appointments were affected. Yet you have a person in Mr. Dennis Strong who's very unqualified, and he has a job with no restrictions. And when I say restrictions, not restrictions within the act, but restrictions coming out of the mouth of the Prime Minister or the Minister of Finance saying, well, you know, you're getting this job with the caveat that. We don't get that. So people, I hope you see what's going on here. Open up your eyes and see for yourself. Open up your eyes and know for yourself. And the first part, open up your eyes and see for yourself. That's the physical eye you're looking at things. And when they say open up your eyes and know for yourself, I don't want to the eye in your head. That one that we're talking about. So what we're saying is, don't just look at what they say they're going to do. We want you to think about what they say they're going to do and what they did. So, Doc, you have anything you want to add?
You know, it says a lot has been said. As I said, we definitely see a movement that is growing. That will not only talk about the issues, but will be actively involved in, bringing solution. I believe the Reason with Rattigan, our Come Reason with Rattigan show is growing. It is going through various stages of development, and where it is now is growing in an era where we are seeing tangible, not just critical, analytical, areas where we can criticize the government and highlight the inefficiencies and so on. Because that is needed, because there's nothing else that can be done except bringing to the forefront, bringing to the limelight the issues that need to be brought to the public's attention, and where education is needed, educate the population so that they can think and be more critical thinkers. And that's very important. But even more importantly is the growth, where it has taken on a community involvement tone, and it is making headways in the most needed and volatile areas of Jamaica. So it's great to see the growth, and it's great to see the improvement, and we're excited to see what else is going to happen as the body grows.
Yeah, fight strong. Thank you for your remarks, Doctor. Very strong remarks, very commendable remarks, and we accept them. Now, I should carefully also Marks, because we have a candidate, former Ambassador Audrey Marks. We'll talk about her on Saturday. But the fight strong, you're absolutely correct about that. That making it contingency is the height of absurdity. Now, here is something that is likely to happen, people. We say, hey, we want to get rid of the king, and then they came up and say, yeah. Let's get constitutional reform in place. And instead of repealing and replacing the Constitution, as many would like done, including Kojo from, I think, Westmoreland or Hanover, they say we're going to do it in stages. And so the first stage, this is what we're going to do. And in the first stage, they don't include as promised, they don't, as was promised, they don't include term limits, they don't include impeachment, they don't include the apex court being the the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, and many other things. They don't put it inside it. They say, oh, that is to come later. And when people say, well, how much is later? When is later? No answer. Here is something that's going to happen. And you can quote me on this. You can bet money on this. Sell your house and put the money upon this. The constitutional reform, as conceived and implemented by the government, is dead. Dead, dead, dead. D-E-D, dead. And you know why? Because it is a deeply embedded, these provisions, deeply embedded. And here we go back to civics. When something is deeply embedded for it to become law, you know what you need? You don't need a simple majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate. You need 2/3. And you know what else you need? For something like with the Constitution, you need something called a referendum, where it's going to go out to the people and the people will get a chance. So here's what happens. You need consensus to get the 2/3 vote. You need both parties to come together and say yes. In the House of Representatives, the government has 49 members and the opposition has 14. So guess what? The government does not need opposition to get 2/3 vote in the House of Representatives. In the Senate, it's different. They need one person from the opposition to cross the aisle and say, we're going to vote with the government to get the 2/3. And then they have to send it out to the people. Well, guess what? They are not going to get the 2/3 in the Senate. However, there's a provision whereby they can still bring it to a referendum. But do they want to take that chance when they can't get 2/3 and people are railing up against everything that's going on with constitutional reform? No. And that's why the Prime Minister is a signal that constitutional reform as we know it today is dead. You know what that means? That means Jamaica will still have a king, King Charles. And I say that seriously. I didn't say it facetiously. Jamaica has a king, people. Jamaica has a king. Go Google it up. Just Google if you don't believe me. Google who is the king of... No, just Google, does Jamaica have a king? And you will see that King Charles, as the head of state, is the king of Jamaica. I know what that means. That means the Governor General will still represent the monarchy, still being paid by the taxpayers of Jamaica. You know what that means? That means the process of the Governor General signing off on bills into law will continue. So, we have never focused on the Governor General, people, as a group of interested Jamaicans. We've never done that. We're focused on the politicians and this and that. But when it comes to laws, but keep in mind that the Governor General must sign off on a law. Must sign off on a bill before it can become law. So you see this thing that they're doing with the Auditor General, saying that they're amending the Integrity Commission Act to remove the Auditor General as one of the 5 commissioners. Guess who can stop that? Guess who? Because guess what? The opposition can't stop it. Because for that, you need a simple majority. And they have a simple majority in the Senate. They have a simple majority in the House of Representatives. But before it can become law, the GG, the man with the back problem, the man who is a Jamaican by birth, but by occupation is an Englishman. Him serve the monarchy. That man can stop all of this. So we need, and you see him come out after I'm sick bed and I talk about issues regarding management structure in the Integrity Commission, as if he didn't know that he was the one who signed it into law. Jamaica is not a real place. When people tell you that, believe. The man signed the bill into law. And now, 8 years later, turn around and start criticizing the same thing he signed into law. And then on top of that, we have a bunch of nincompoops running around saying that having the Auditor General on the Integrity Commission is a violation of the Constitution. And we use the word nincompoops because they're very wrong. And how do we know they're very wrong? Because the Solicitor General of Jamaica told them so, saying no, it has nothing to do with with constitutional violations. Nothing. And remember, before the Integrity Commission Act of 2017 could become law, it came up as a bill and it went over to the Attorney General's office for what? For review of constitutional sufficiency. What does that mean? For a review to show that the terms and conditions and provisions, they don't violate the Constitution. And the Attorney General at the time said they don't. Says they didn't. And so the bill was passed on to the Governor General, who signed it into law. And now they come and they say, oh, there are constitutional problems with it. And we say, well, wait a minute. It was reviewed over here. And not only that, you guys all signed off on it. All of you guys now complaining about it. You signed off on it, including the Governor General. So you see, people, that's why it's so important for you to get the context. You know, Isaac Buchanan, he has a program, and he has been identified as popularizing the phrase, at least within the Jamaican population, context matters. Because once you start to talk about facts and you start adding the texture of context to those facts, people will easily identify what's going on. And so when we're talking about removing the Auditor General, all you need to do is go back and say, but wait a minute, no. Didn't you guys sign off on it? And you had no problems? You had no problems in 2017 when you signed it. No problem 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. You have problems in 2025. Why? Why all of a sudden now you have an epiphany and you can see things as clearly as you should have seen them in 2017? What happened in 2017? That's what happened between 2017 and now that's causing this change. What happened? That's how I would like to see us think. At least one way of thinking. That's how I would like to see us think. Ask the question, if they signed off on it 8 years ago, why are they having an issue now? What happened? What happened? I won't tell you what happened because you're bright people and you will see it for what it is. But tune in on Saturday because we're going to break this thing apart. Bring your pen, bring your paper, bring your book. Take notes because we're going to expose this whole thing and show you why it is that all of a sudden we're now having a problem. And they're coming up with all kinds of reasons, and the reasons they don't make sense at all. Open up your eyes, see for yourself. Open up your eyes, know for yourself. Doc, come in. We have 13 minutes left.
Yeah, man. So, that is happening. Want to just thank everybody for the feedback. As I said that next week we hope to have another lively discussion. As I said, the issue is that so much is happening in Jamaica, and the government needs to be held accountable. Gone are the days when people will just sit back and just mumble and just quarrel. There has to be strong, uh, informed, educated minds that are bringing to the forefront the issues and holding, the government, whoever they are, accountable, because people are demanding, not just want, but people are demanding good governance. And so those persons who intend to go into government will not just see it as an easy way to siphon money into their pockets, but they are going to be held accountable, and they're going to be required to produce good demand. I like it. I don't know if you can say anything before we close, Ratty. You spoke a lot about the parliamentarian that was being paid, not going to parliament. I don't know what became of him.
Yeah, that gentleman was he was removed. He's still in parliament, but he's not contesting the election because the opposition they will not have him as a candidate. And it's very simple as to see why. Why would you want to have somebody who doesn't show up at all? And in fact, he got upset because they removed him. They replaced him as a candidate with, I think it was the current opposition spokesperson on education. They removed, so he won't be contesting this, the upcoming elections.
Okay.
Member of the opposition. Before you come back in, Dr. Ben, let me just answer Trish. Trish said, I cannot agree with you on the King rule in Jamaica. If that were so, Andrew could not be selling out the country and carrying out this criminal organization. Trish, tune in this Saturday, because I don't think you understand where I'm coming from. If I ask you, Trish, who is the head of state of Jamaica, who do you think it is? There's the head of state and there's the government. There's a head of government, head of state. Head of state is King Charles. Head of government is the prime minister. But guess what? There are things the prime minister cannot do without the assent of the governor general. So even though it may look like, okay, the king is just a figure, is just a figurehead, and the governor general is just there. What happens is that a lot of things cannot get done in Jamaica without the governor general assenting, without him agreeing to it. Now, if they sit back and let things happen, that's a different question. And I'll give you an example of what happened. States of emergency, unconstitutional, and guess what? The G signed off on all of them that we know of. Signed off on all of them, and the court came in and said all of them unconstitutional. There are things that are going on that the G is putting his signature to, that I don't think that he's not reviewing these things, or if he's reviewing them and he's just going along. But he doesn't have to, because in the Constitution it says, listen, somebody asked the question, is the Governor General above the law? Yes, when it comes to his duties. If he should kill somebody, God forbid. This is just a figure of speech, but or just for the sake of the conversation. If the Governor General should be involved in that thing where he kills somebody, yes, he's gonna be charged. He's gonna be charged. But as far as his duties are concerned, and what he's supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do, his duties, his official duties. If he say, I'm not doing what they ask me for, there's no court they can take him to. None. Who says that? The Constitution says that. It says, as to whether or not he's performed his duties, he cannot be drawn before a court. cannot be drawn before any court. So he's above the law with respect to his with respect to him carrying out his duties or not carrying out his duties. He's above the law. And what about the crown lands that Andrew's selling to people from faraway lands? No, with this crown lands that he's selling, we have to be careful again, people. That's why I'm asking you to be critical thinkers. That's why ATIs are so important. When they say he's selling crown lands, you have to identify these pieces of these tracts of land. You have to identify them and say, well, is it the prime minister selling them? Is it an arm of government selling them? We have to be careful when we make these statements. And crown lands, by the way, they're government lands. They're government lands. So, and there are certain restrictions about what you can do with government lands, who has the power to, or who has the authority to sell these lands. So let's not talk loosely around here. Let's go back and dig and get the facts, because guess what happens? You see, when you come with the facts, you become credible. And once you become credible, people start believing you when you say certain things. Sometimes they don't even question your credibility. Them just say, if Dr. Ben says so, I saw. Right? Ask about medicine and herbal medicine. Dr. Ben says so. I find nobody are going to take no objection to it. Them say from Dr. Ben says so, I saw, because the man is credible. He has a history of credibility. So that's where we are. Go ahead, Dr. Ben.
Yeah, man. So, wonderful. I love hearing you talking about these points and touching these areas. But as I said, we don't you definitely want to entertain responsible input. You don't want to be out there facilitating loose talk, as I said. So you want to guide. You want when somebody say, boy, I'm a student of the Wil Rattigan program, they can say, well, yeah. Them people that talk when they go so sensible reasoning. So yeah, it has to be sound. So critical thinking is important, because you don't just want to say something because we hear somebody repeat it. I just say something because it's what is being said. We want to be good representatives of what is true.
Yeah. And when somebody tells you something, you ask. You said to them, show me. Show me. You're saying these things, show me. And in a lot of instances, they will not show you. And Antonio Bard said, and Mr. Rattigan said, what is the state? No, again, context matters. When you say, Antonio, what is the state? What do you mean? What are you referring to? See, people, before you can answer questions at times, you have to ask for clarification, because you may answer a question that wasn't asked. And now that answer is going to be affiliated with that question. And it may be a wrong answer. So if you're not sure about a question, there is no harm in saying, listen, I don't understand the question. Can you please clarify? Tell me in what context are you referring? Also, a good thing is to ask for definition. Ask them to define, because this Saturday we're going to show you the difference between a nominee shareholder and a trustee. And we're going to be talking, and those two terms, they refer to what? The drill and the company called Meditech, about the gentleman there, Mr. Donovan Williams, who's holding on to 40,000 out of the 50,000 shares issued. And he's saying, I'm a trustee. And the law talks about trustee and it talks about nominee shareholder. But you will see this Saturday that there is very little daylight between both terms. So that's why it's important for you to ask sometimes when you hear people give you a title or something. So what does it mean? Where did you get this definition from? Ask. Ask if you don't understand. Ask. And even if it means that, and I used to tell people said to me, say, boy, I don't want to ask you a foolish question. And I say, no, it would be foolish if you didn't ask me. Because if you have that question in your mind, there is a chance that somebody else, and there are no foolish questions. So ask the question and you get your answer, man. Yes, Antonio, state in the context of the king as head of state. Yes, the question is, what do you what's the question is, what is the question? Because the king is the head of state, meaning that them control Jamaica. And as you can see, when I said them control Jamaica, no laws can pass without the king, the king's representative sign. The king is not in Jamaica. Oh, by the way, I've been told that when the king comes to Jamaica, there's no governor general. I was told that the governor general only exists when the king is not in Jamaica, because if he's in Jamaica, then he's in charge. That's what not told. I believe I read that in a book. I have to go back and double check. But the state as the council king as head of, yeah, the king is the head of state. The king is the head of Jamaica. And what that means is that there are certain things that cannot be done in Jamaica without the king or his representative taking part. Cannot be done. And some people will tell you, oh, it's ceremonial, so they just have to do it. No, they don't. If the governor general not have to do nothing, he doesn't have to. There's a part in the Constitution that says where he has been advised, where he's been recommended, where is this, where is that, where is this, where is that. He doesn't have to do any of that. You know what it is? It's convention. We have accepted it over the years that, okay, before Parliament starts, the Governor General issues what is called a throne speech, and it opens up Parliament. But what did the Governor General say? I'm not going to give a throne speech today. And by the way, did you know that the Governor General can tell Parliament, oh, no meetings in Parliament, you must have the meetings at King's House, and they must come here and meet in my presence. They have to go. There's so many things in that Constitution that the Governor General can do, but he hasn't exercised that power. But it doesn't mean he doesn't have the power. Big difference. He can have it and not use it. And that's the case with him. He has a lot of power, but over the years, him just, not just this one, them just rubber stamp a whole bunch of things, and people just say, oh, well, yeah, him have to do it. Whenever you come to him have to do it. No. And look how them trick us. Antonio, look on the trick now. The trick is this. The Governor General, a Jamaican, represents the monarchy. Yet, the monarchy not paying no 9 bills them. The monarchy not paying no 9 bills. No 9 bills. And you can't take him go to court. And guess what else? Him don't pay income tax. And him get free things coming out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now, people. Come on. No politician go Google that. He said the king does not exert any political power. No, but here's the thing. Doesn't exert any political power, but here's the thing. Remember now that the Governor General can decide under certain circumstances who's going to be the Prime Minister. Did you know this? By the way, people, we do not vote for a Prime Minister in Jamaica. We vote for him, and then the MP, they vote for a Prime Minister amongst themselves. But did you know that under certain circumstances, the Governor General can pick a Prime Minister? Did you know that the Governor General can dissolve Parliament? Did you know that under certain circumstances, the Governor General can decide who's going to be the leader of the opposition? People don't know these things. This is what we are talking about, Dr. Ben. That's why we had the program last Saturday. This is Civic. We are saying that document you call the Constitution is flawed. It was not written for us. But until we can repeal and replace, we have to work with it. And we're saying these are the conditions, these are the provisions in there. That is what's going on. And you know what his name? He wrote a book. He wrote a book about the Constitution. I highly recommend it to people who doubt what I'm saying. I can't remember his name. On Saturday, I'll bring the book on. But read that book. Read that book about the Constitution, and you'll understand the power of the Governor General and the King. And oh, and by the way, when you look at the priority order for the country of Jamaica, King number 1, Governor General number 2, and number 3 is the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, and the Prime Minister is there. Third level. Them say all you're doing is weaponizing the GG to educate his friend, the PM. No, Andrew, I'm educating you. You think they don't know this, Andrew? Come on, man. You've been with us for so long and you bring up this foolish point here. Say, weaponize the GG to educate his friend, the PM. You think them don't know this, Andrew? This is for you, Andrew. Okay, then, you know what? Let me leave. Let me leave now here, sir. People, listen, it's been a blast. We appreciate the turnout on Saturday. We thank everyone for what took place on Saturday. And we look forward to the next one. Oh, Saturday. And after that, we're going to Mandeville. And if you want us to come to your community, don't be afraid. We're here. Give us a call. Dr. Ben, pick up yourself here, sir.
Blessings every time. Next week, all being well.
All being well. God willing, we will be here. OT, producer extraordinaire. Big up yourself. Lead us out with the music. Guys.